final. Give me Bam Adebayo over on points as well. But you take it any way you want to take it. If you're new to FanDuel, just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Sign up with promo code ROB to get your first bet risk-free up to $1,000. Once again, that promo code is ROB. And if you already have an account, you're all set to bet. Either way, you get up to $20 in free bets if your same-game parlay during the playoffs doesn't win. FanDuel Sportsbook, an official partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Refund issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max free bet of $20 per week. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, what's going on? Chase McCabe here to tell you about Dr. Kelly Rice Family Cosmetic and Dental Sleep Medicine. Dr. Rice, is it true that according to the American Dental Association, roughly 80% of people in the U.S. have some form of gum disease?
That's right, but our non-surgical periodontal therapy is painless and effective in keeping your mouth healthy. And the mouth is the window to the health of the rest of the body.
I know you have some different things that you offer. What else can you tell us?
Well, first, who doesn't want whiter teeth? Our new Zoom LED whitening system is less sensitive, and you get more than 5 shades of whitening. And we just upgraded both our lasers to kill bacteria during your cleaning.
What about taking care of cold sores some people may have, which can become painful? Can lasers help with that too?
Yes, the gentle laser setting will kill the virus in your cold sores all naturally while reducing the healing time by half. And our special soft tissue wand uses warm, light laser therapy to give instant relief to severe TMJ pain. Our approach to holistic dentistry is unique.
Give Dr. Kelly Rice Family Cosmetic and Dental Sleep Medicine a call today at 615-373-4488 or visit kellyerice.com. You'll certainly be glad you did.
Folds of Honor provides educational scholarships to the families of military men and women who have fallen or been disabled while on active duty in the United States Armed Forces. Since 2007, Folds of Honor has awarded nearly 29,000 educational scholarships. Help families of soldiers who gave the ultimate sacrifice. Join the Game Nashville for a day of online and on-air giving today. Text keyword DONATE to 615-737-1025.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting 97.5 Murfreesboro, 106.3 Williamson County,
ESPN
102.5 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5 The Game, and it is now officially featuring Caroline Fenton, who is here today live from the Hillside Medical Game Studio, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live, thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. We are live today at the Folds of Honor at the ESPN 102.5 The Game and 106.3 the Folds of Honor Charity Golf Tournament, where I hear that we've already raised over $7,000 worth of cash for Folds of Honor, which is for veterans, which we should be very excited about. But as you did hear right there, the show is now officially Stillman & Company featuring Caroline Fenton. Now, I was trying to think of what the right analogy was to describe this, because I'm an analogy guy.
You do like an analogy.
It's kind of like you've gotten a new belt in karate.
Am I a brown belt?
I don't know what the belts are. I just know white belt is first and black belt is last.
And then everything in the middle is just kind of, you're making the next step forward for a black belt.
So, I mean, I will say this. That is, in this industry, that is considered a promotion. That it is, that this show is now featuring Caroline as opposed to her just being a part of the company. And the reason that it is because she's earned it. And so I think that, when we hired Caroline, it was a really weird transition. You always have thoughts in your mind about what you want to do somewhere else, or, and I'll just be honest about me. I always had ideas about, okay, what's the next step for the radio show, or what's the process? But I kind of figured that all those would include the old man. And so when we were in the position that we were in, where we were trying to make changes or trying to figure out what we were going to do, a lot of people, it's afternoon drive in Nashville, and a lot of people were like, hey, they would like to have, just Jared and instead of the GM, whatever. And there were a lot of thoughts and a lot of people. And ultimately, I just decided with, it was Ryan and I talked a lot about it at the time, and management and everything. And we just decided, I can do this. I can do, the 4 hours. And we wanted to find somebody who could add an element but also help us digitally. And we found Caroline. And I cannot tell you how many people And I had nothing to do with the whole finding of Caroline. It had nothing to do with me. But I can't tell you how many people over the last year have talked about, just raved about how impressed they are by Caroline. And I still think, like, I say this with total respect, you still have so much further to go.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, there's still
step
so
one
much
of
more
many.
there to go. And but I'm really proud of it. I mean, you really have earned, you know, to me at least, it's pretty real estate, but you've earned it. And so,
Thank you.
you know, I mean, I think everybody around town knows who you are. I think everybody, you know, I'm sure you probably go places and they probably tell you, like, man, I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you deal with that. But it looks like we'll be dealing with it a lot longer than we have been. So I'm really happy.
Which is something that I am very, very happy to be dealing with.
Now,
and I'm very proud, and thank you.
For the audience that loves me and the audience that hates me, I'm not going anywhere. So it's like, it's not, you know, the idea of like, oh, man, maybe this means, nope, you still going to love the same amount and you are going to hate the same amount, because it's not going to change. So I want to start on this, and I think this is a perfect Stillman and Company featuring Caroline Fenton topic to discuss, because I have listed, I did not go to Titans rookie mini camp this past weekend. And honestly, I don't need to go there. I don't need to watch Quentin Dormady throw passes at Titans rookie minicamp. And so the big story, and we touched on it a little bit, was Trayland Burks ended up his first rookie minicamp, first day, and he ended up making it through like 2 drills and getting sent off inside. And then you hear there was an inhaler involved, and then maybe he was overheating because it was hot, and they come up with all these different things and all these excuses. But that's not what the coach said. So on Friday, when they had rookie minicamp, Mike Vrabel was asked about what happened to Trayland Burks, and this was his response.
Just, you know, I mean, I listen to Todd. We defer, you know, to Todd. So, you know, we all have to, we got to get these guys in here. We got to study. We got to learn what to do, teach them our program. And, you know, so if he's back out there tomorrow, then we'll coach him up.
You expect these guys to come in shape, but how much is something like that to be expected?
I think it's hard to think that they can recreate, you know, with a trainer, how we do things. And we see that with guys that have come back and started with our off-season program and guys that have joined a few weeks in. It's just different. And I know that they're working and they think that they are trying to get in shape, but that's just not the case. And so that's something that we have to focus on and try to make sure that we're getting some work in. But, you know, with all of them, you know, trying to be as smart as we possibly can, Jim.
Okay, so we didn't hear about allergies from Mike Vrabel on Friday, did we?
No.
We didn't hear about the heat from Mike Vrabel on Friday, did we?
I guess I can kind of go along with being in shape, but no, not heat specifically.
We heard the coach basically say, you know, whatever the trainer said do, we're doing. Okay, but what about, well, the guys that aren't here try to work out with the trainer, and it's not the same as working out here, and that's why we got to work out guys here, and so guys got to. Mike Vrabel's telling you he's out of shape. Now, again, I wasn't there, but Mike Vrabel is telling you he's out of shape. That was the response. And so I sit here and I hear people sit there and say, because I listened this morning to the morning show, and I listened when I was driving in, and it was Chase and Elijah and Joe, and you know, are you worried about Trayland Burks being, you know, not able to finish the first day of his rookie minicamp? Oh no, you know, Al, it's allergies this time of year. Oh no, it's hot this time of year. Oh no, it's what? The coach didn't say that. The coach didn't say allergies, and the coach didn't say asthma. And the coach didn't say heat.
Well, he didn't say asthma, but he brought out an inhaler, so one can assume that it is most likely asthma-related.
He didn't say it. The coach was asked about it. The coach talked about guys being in shape. And so, to me, that's Vrabel telling you that he doesn't think Trayland Burks is in shape. And then the second part of it was, for me, is who'd they draft 2 years ago in the first round?
Isaiah Wilson.
I know nobody likes to talk about this, because everybody wants to talk about the good stuff. They don't want to talk about the bad stuff. Trayland Burks was brought in to replace A.J. Brown. Now, I like the trade. I like the decision to not kowtow to A.J. and give him $25 million a season and guarantee him $80+ million and giving in to his demands after all the crazy things that his team requested of the Titans and going out and getting a guy that a lot of people have comped to A.J. Brown. But this is a team that the entire city is losing their minds over because they lost in the divisional round of the playoff game to the team that represented the AFC in the Super Bowl. The expectations around here are high. And so when you trade A.J. Brown for this guy, I hate to break it to you, this guy has to play. Like, they play the Giants week 1, this guy has to be on the field. Now, him not being in shape for rookie minicamp, which is the assumption I'm making because it's the only thing that the coach said, the assumption that he's out of shape does not mean that he'll be out of shape week 1 for the Giants. But it is eye-opening. It is questionable. It is okay to sit there and say, man, they took a lazy bum 2 years ago, and they never saw it coming, and the guy was out of shape, and he was lazy, and he was overweight, and he never played a meaningful down of football for them. And then you take a guy this year, and you need him to play right away. You didn't need that guy to play right away, but you need this guy to play right away. And the first day of rookie minicamp, he has to walk off because, according to the coach, guys think they can train outside of here, and they got to come in here. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm making an assumption that Trayland Burks is a bust. It doesn't mean that I'm saying Trayland Burks is Isaiah Wilson. But I think it's fair to say that you should be concerned that the guy that you just traded A.J. Brown for could not make it through his first rookie practice. I think you are legitimately allowed to be concerned about it for several different reasons. 1, because you need him right away. 2, because let's not kid ourselves, he was a little on the thick side coming in here.
That was a concern going into the draft.
That was
his size.
His size was something that we worried about. 3, because they drafted a guy in the first round 2 years ago that played high-level football in the SEC, and then we found out later, too lazy, too fat. And the old saying in football, and I don't know Trayland Burks. I have never met Trayland Burks. I hope that Trayland Burks becomes a great player for the Titans. But the old saying is, dumb guys stay dumb, injured guys stay injured, and fat guys stay fat. And he's not a fat guy, but I thought before he even showed up, it'd be something we'd have to be worried about is, hey, Trayland's 225. If they can get Trayland Burks down to 220, 215, that's probably where he needs to play. And the first day of rookie minicamp, he can't make it through. The first day. Second-round pick made it through. Third-round pick made it through. Fourth-round pick made it through. To me, I'm concerned. Now, again, I'm not, panicking. I'm not losing my mind. But I'm not excusing it either. And I think I've heard a lot of people today that are excusing it. Your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's something that I'm more going to be skeptical about and something that I'm going to keep an eye on moving forward. Am I concerned? Yeah, probably a little bit. But it's not the kind of thing that I'm going to say, okay, Trayland Burks, that was a terrible trade. He was a bad pick. The Titans need to go pick up another veteran wide receiver. Because here on May 16th and then over this past weekend with Trayland Burks, yes, you want him to be in shape. Yes, you want him to be able to go out there and really kind of ooh and ah. That's the Titans' first-round pick. But I'm also not going to write home about it because there is a lot of time. And if he is out of shape, he'll get into shape. And yeah, the heat and the allergies, those are things that aren't going to go away in summer training camp. Those are only going to get worse.
Well, allergies will go away because
allergies will go away. But but the heat thing, like I don't necessarily want to say, oh well, it was hot outside, so we got to give him a pass. I mean, the dude went to Arkansas. He played football in the SEC. It's hot in the SEC,
and you need to be in shape. And it will be hot week 1 against the Giants.
But I have no reason to think that he won't be in shape.
See, that's where I differ, because I got 2 practices. This is the whole point I'm making, which is I'm not looking at it like glass half full, glass half empty. Everything I've heard today locally has been glass half full. And all I'm saying is I've got 2 practices, and he couldn't make it through the first one. So I don't know why I have to assume that Trayland Burks will show up in shape. I don't understand that.
Well, you should assume that he should show up in shape to rookie minicamp, yes, but he didn't.
But I'm trying to figure out why I should assume that it's not a big deal, and he will for sure be in shape for training camp and will for sure be ready to play week 1 against the Giants.
I guess you have to put trust into the team.
The same team that drafted Isaiah Wilson in the first round 2 years ago.
Isaiah Wilson was a problem beyond just being fat and lazy.
But the biggest problem was that at the beginning was that he was fat and lazy.
But there were other things with Isaiah Wilson that is the reason why he is no longer a player in the NFL. He had some serious behavioral issues, which is something that you can't really change. If a guy's doing it and he knows the repercussions and he's been in trouble for it and he continues to do it, you're not going to change that. A guy can be out of shape and you can change that.
Right, but I remember having the same discussions about Isaiah Wilson when he went to that TSU party during COVID, and I remember the discussion on the show was, how many discretions until you become like Pac-Man? And everybody was like, it's just he went to a college party during shutdowns, and there was some weed or something that was smoked there. I think that's the whole whatever, the whole story. And he was thought
like on the roof,
jumping off the balcony or something crazy like that. So he showed up out of shape, and he went to this TSU party. And everyone's like, he's not bad, Jared, trust me. And that was an assumption that was made because people wanted to make it. And that's what I'm saying about this is, to me, right now, Trayland Burks, strike one. I mean, like, that is, and it's concerning because they didn't need Isaiah Wilson to play right away. They need him to play right away. So when people say, like, hey, it's a tough adjustment, or, oh, no, he's too busy, been training for the combine, and the combine is different than actually playing football. The combine was like 4 months ago. So,
yes, he should have been in shape.
Right, and he should be in shape for training camp, and he should be in shape for the Giants, but I'm not willing to make the assumption that he will be there. So it's now something that I believe we all have to watch on a daily basis. That we now, like, I know it's May, and people don't want the shine coming off the apple of the first-round pick, but it's now something we're going to have to worry about. It is legitimately something with Trayland Burks that, we talked about it before he even showed up, about what's his weight going to be like. And first day, the coach asked about why he left. Oh, well, guys think they can work out with their trainer, but it's something different. So that's how we're starting today. 615-737-1025, which is the phone number, 615-737-1025. Here's the question. Are you worried about Trayland Burks? Are you worried about what shape he's in? Are you worried about his ability to be ready for the season? Are you worried about his ability to replace A.J. Brown? 615-737-1025 is the phone number. And I was not at rookie minicamp, but there are two people that have two entirely different opinions, and they were both there about Trayland Burks, and we will get to that coming up next. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, Stillman & Company. We are delivered by TriStar Moving. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Hey, this is Andrew Allegretta, voice of the Vandy Boys. Listen to the Commodore Hour every Monday at 6 p.m. during the baseball season. Kevin Ingram and I talk with Coach Corbin and special guests on ESPN 94.9 and streaming on the VU Commodores mobile app.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now, 615-576-5000.
Attention, buckaroos! It's time for the Franklin Rodeo, so saddle up and hold on to your lasso. It's 3 days of bull riding, calf roping, western wear, funny clowns, and some of the most talented horses you've ever seen. Join the Stampede this weekend. The Franklin Rodeo is held at the Williamson County Ag Expo Park and is brought to you by Franklin Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram, Williamson Medical Center, Wesley Mortgage, and Event 1FX. Tickets on sale now at franklinrodeo.com. It's a buckin' good time.
So many times guests come in with pictures from Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook and are amazed that we have those rings in stock.
David Cooper, Vice President at Genesis Diamonds, talking about how Genesis stays on the cutting edge.
We pride ourselves of staying ahead of the curve of fashion and seeking what's new, what's hot all over the world, what's hot all over the internet, and having that in stock for you, where other stores are still chasing styles that were cool maybe 5 or 10 years ago.
Why settle for an outdated style or a stale design? Make the switch to Genesis. and get the ring of her dreams with over 4,000 cutting-edge choices from the top bridal designers in the world.
We have the designer looks that you see everywhere in stock in a variety of metals, a variety of sizes and shapes, and a variety of budgets, so every customer can have exactly what they want.
Genesis Diamonds and pre-owned Rolexes.
We are so honored and proud that so many people have made the switch to Genesis Diamonds and not only told their friends about Genesis, but have brought their friends to Genesis.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Parman Tractor and Equipment is your one-stop tractor and equipment solution, and Middle Tennessee's Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer. Rent or purchase a track loader, mini excavator, large excavators for your job site, or something in between. Parman is now hiring and seeking qualified candidates for construction equipment truck drivers, service technicians, and more. Apply at parmantractor.com or call 615-865-7800. Come be an employee owner with the Parman team, your Middle Tennessee Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer.
If you've missed any of today's show, just search Stillman and Company on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
What you said about Burks and that it could happen to anybody, but it happened to him. Your number one pick, the receiver.
Yeah. What are my thoughts?
I mean, just
I don't
here's the guy
really
you spent all
I
the
don't.
capital
You know, I mean,
on.
we all have a long way to go, and we all have a lot to improve on. And I think the great thing with this group, you know, is maybe we can only improve some of those veteran players just a little bit, man. We're searching for things, and, you know, use Kev Byard example. Like, hey, Kev, what can we do just this much better? All these players out here on that field today, there's a lot for them to work on. So they're all going to have some good days. They're all going to have some great days, and hopefully we can avoid the bad days.
There you go. That was Vrabel when asked by Paul Kaharski to follow up on Trayland Burks. And I do love how Vrabel points to the guy who does everything right. You know, hey, this is a message for everybody. This could be this is a message for Kevin Byard, who in 6 years has never done anything wrong other than when he ran to the middle of the star on Monday Night Football after getting an interception against the Cowboys into the TO. And Vrabel was pissed about that. And Vrabel let everybody know.
Sounds like something that Vrabel would just hate.
So it did feel like Vrabel kind of walked back the Trayland Burks out of shape allegations. Now, we should point out that Trayland Burks did make it through all of Saturday's practice. Now, I was not at either practice, but all I can do is listen to the people who were there. And so Paul Kaharski on Outkick 360 was asked about Trayland Burks pulling out of rookie minicamp, and I want you to hear the dichotomy between what PK thought of it and what TD, both of whom were there, both of whom's opinions I trust. Not going to tell you whose opinion I trust more, but in all seriousness, probably isn't hard to figure out.
That might be obvious.
Probably. But
goes without saying.
But I do respect both opinions. But this is what Paul Kaharski's interpretation of what happened on Friday was.
I think he's terribly out of shape, which is weird. I mean, you know, there's no SEC city, and certainly Arkansas as fine with my car says it's 87 degrees right now. I mean, it was not exceedingly hot for a May day in Nashville. I went to Willis first to watch some footwork drills. By the time I got over to the receivers, they had run, you know, on bungee cords. I'm told he was pulled back by his first bungee cord rep, which is weird. He was already hunched over, hands on knees, having trouble gathering himself. He fell further and further back in the line. He took the one rep that you guys are showing at some point here where they ran under the, you know, cart or roof, whatever you want to call it, to stay low. And then he fell out.
And so, you know, the way Paul makes it sound is like, hey, he was just so terribly out of shape is what he said. Now, TD, and we all know TD's my guy. TD was on the midday show today. He was asked about what happened to Trayland Burks. Here's TD's take on it from Friday.
With the Trayland Burks situation, there's nothing really to worry about. Obviously, people were concerned after the first day, but, I mean, he was overheating. That's why they had the ice on his neck, the inhaler. I mean, we don't know if it's asthma or even just simple allergies. I mean, people forget, and I know because I remember just, you know, 4 years ago moving here when I first got here, like the allergies, and I still have it. The pollen levels are different. So you mix that with the heat, and it got hot really quickly. you're going to have that type of situation. But then you look, he came right back the next practice, full participant. He actually looked a little bit more energetic and everything. He made a couple catches, and there were no issues. So I think that's something that you just got to kind of chalk up to the intro to the Nashville environment and intro to an NFL practice, and I fully believe he'll be fine. I don't think there's any issue.
I don't know how to feel. You know what I mean? Like, Paul makes it sound like Trayland Burks showed up, and Paul's outkick 360 TD on Darren Donick and Chase. And Paul makes it sound like that Trayland Burks showed up the first day to practice and was just horribly out of shape. You know, you played sports in high school, right?
Yeah.
You know the feeling when you get back from summer and it's like,
and
what
you just
were
get
you
your
doing?
butt kicked.
I'm not even talking about you. I'm talking about when you look at your teammates and there's somebody that showed up and it's like, what have you been doing all summer? I mean, what did we hit the snack bar all summer? What are we doing? We've all had that teammate. Probably good chance I was that teammate. And so then you have the other side of it where TD's like, look, man, the pollen levels rise up here, which is true. And I have horrible allergies.
I'm a victim of it myself.
And it was hot outside, which it was. Like, I hear all of that. I see both sides of it. I'm just telling you, two people went to the same practice and have two totally different interpretations of what happened. So all I can go off of, that's all I'm going to say about it. All I can go off of is he didn't get through his first practice in the NFL. Now, he did get through the second practice, so thumbs up there. But he didn't get through his first practice in the NFL, and that's concerning.
I do think that there is a good possibility that this could be an all-of-the-above kind of situation. He came in. We were already concerned about his weight coming in. So that could be part of it, that he's a little out of shape.
Sure.
It was hot over the weekend, and it's kind of like your first introduction back. You know, you're getting back into the grind of things, which he shouldn't necessarily get back into things. He should have been keeping up with what he needed to do physically. But, you know, getting back into practice, it was hot outside, the pollen count is high, and he was overweight. So I think it might be just a little bit of everything.
So then shouldn't that make us worried?
Yeah, I mean, I never said I wasn't worried. I said it's something that I'm going to be skeptical about. It's something that I will be concerned about, but it's not something that I think is going to be earth-shattering at this point. If he continues to practice this week into training camp where Trayland Burks is consistently in and out and on the field and off the field, very Julio-esque of last year at training camp, then yeah, that'll concern me. It's something that I will keep an eye on. Very much so. But I'm not losing sleep over it on May 16th.
Trayland Burks, if we get to training camp and Trayland Burks is struggling or Trayland Burks is out of shape, or
that's a different story.
If we see Trayland Burks over on the bike, I mean, that's bad. Like, that is because, you know, how important is rookie minicamp? I mean, honestly, I think the idea of not getting through the practice bothers me more than what condition he's in right away. I also wouldn't be surprised if the Titans felt like Trayland Burks was out of shape, so they could kind of use this a little bit as like a way to, you know, really run him into the ground early as like, hey, we're going to coach you really, really hard, but kind of pointing out, like making him look in the mirror of, man, like you're just not in good enough shape. Like, you got to get in better shape, bud, and you couldn't even make it through your first practice, and then that realization of like, yeah, maybe I do need to put the ice cream sundae down, and maybe I do need to get the lean meats or whatever you want to say, or maybe I do need to hit some extra wind sprints or whatever. Like, I could see the Titans doing that, and I could see the
being
Titans
really tough on him early on.
I could see the Titans coaching him harder than you would coach the average player as a rookie because of what is expected of him given what he replaces. So I could see all of that. The one thing I just don't want to do is I just don't want to make an assumption. And all I can go off of is Vrabel, which again, try not to make an assumption here, but I felt like Vrabel getting up there, that first response, and talking about how everybody thinks that they can work out with their trainer, but it's not the same as working in here.
That was a message.
It felt kind of like a grandstanding moment for Vrabel. And maybe not even targeted at any one individual, but maybe more so just Vrabel grandstanding in front of everybody and using Trayland Burks as the example of everybody thinks they can work out with their trainer. Everybody thinks, but it's not the same as doing it in the NFL. And I know that because my old co-host used to be a strength coach in the NFL, and he swears by NFL strength coaches as opposed to everybody else's actual personal trainer. And his logic made some sense, right? Like these guys pay the trainers, and what the trainers really want is they got to work hard enough to keep themselves employed by the guy. Well, if you walk in every day and say, you fat ass, you're not good for anything, you need to get down and give me 100 burpees right now.
Then you're getting dumped.
That guy's not going to like you. So what you do is you come in and you do the things where you throw the chew toys for the guy to like bounce around and try to get him. And like, come on, give me 2 more, give me 2 more, give me 2 more. And then afterwards be like, yeah, man, we really put in a great day of work today. And slap him on the behind. And that is probably what happens. So I kind of see all sides of this. I don't want to make any assumptions. I can only go off of what I was told because I wasn't there. And he did make it through the second practice. But I want everybody to know something right now. There's high expectations right here for Trayland Burks.
Oh, absolutely.
So if we're going to sit around and talk about, oh, it's not a big deal or, oh, if this would, I mean, I hate to break it to you, but I know preseason expectations are apparently a really big deal. But I guess what everybody else's expectations of the Titans and what my expectations of the Titans and what I think the city's expectations of the Titans are, I mean, he's got to be ready to play. And you play the Buffalo Bills week 2. So this idea of like, well, he work his way in, he work his way, that doesn't work for me. You want Malik Willis to take his time, work his way in, maybe work his way out, maybe be active on game day? That's fine. I don't care about that. This one right here, this one is a big deal for me. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. We will get to your phones. What I think is hilarious is the dichotomy. The Titans were a big topic this weekend, like a big topic on SportsCenter. I woke up this morning on NFL radio, and they were talking full-on Titans. And so the Titans are a big conversation, but there is a dichotomy between what they are talking about and what I think we care about, and we'll get to that next. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Let me tell you about Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Those are my guys, and they take great care of my home, and I promise that they can do the same for you. That's right. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but it is kind of hot out there. And so once it gets a little hot, that means next thing you know, it's going to be bad for you if your HVAC goes out, because it's going to be about 95 every day this summer, and it's only going to get hotter. So you have got to, and I mean got to, talk to my friends at Hiller. They do an absolutely fantastic job when it comes to taking care of your home. And again, I know this because I've been using Hiller for years. And so every time I've had an issue, and it's not very often, Hiller comes right out to the home, and they do a fantastic job. And that's why they've got, I think it was 4.8 out of 5-star review averaged over 15,000 online reviews. And most people that go online to complain. So that's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Stay cool this summer with my friends at Hiller. They're proud supporters of the Nashville Predators, the Tennessee Volunteers, and the Vanderbilt Commodores. That's Hiller. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
they're still in good shape to make the playoffs,
and I-840.
Players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
There's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams.
This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have 2 choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
Winning this award is truly like winning the Super Bowl of car dealer awards for Mercedes-Benz.
Edwin Vickery, General Manager of Mercedes-Benz of Music City.
Culture eats strategy for lunch. You have to hit on all cylinders to win this award. You can strategize all you want. You got to still have the right tools, and our tools are our people.
Live the dream with 3-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best award winner, Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Go to mbofmc.com.
What if you could be debt-free in 3 weeks? Hey, Willie Donick here. My friends at Loan Pronto are helping people do it every day. It's Loan Pronto's Debt Consolidation Home Refi, wiping out tens of thousands in credit card debt. Listen, your home's value is way up. You can refinance now, take money out to pay off all your credit cards, eliminate PMI charges, pay off personal loans, or other high-interest debt. One local couple had over $50,000 in credit card debt. Loan Pronto did a debt consolidation refi. And even though their mortgage rate went up a tad, they cut their monthly payments by $900. Why pay 20% interest when you can consolidate it to one low payment with a mortgage APR in the 3s? Homeowners who do it save an average of $800 a month. Do it now and even skip your next house payment altogether. That's what I call financial freedom. Call Loan Pronto now. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Hey everybody, it's me, Chase McCabe, and I'm so excited to be talking about my go-to drink when I'm out and about, Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. Screwball is the first and most awarded peanut butter whiskey in the world. It's an original, just like me, the suit. I take Screwball as a shot, but it's great on the rocks, in an old-fashioned, an espresso martini, and many more. So next time you're out and about, ask for Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2022, Screwball Spirits, LLC, San Diego, California. Whiskey with natural flavors, 35% alcohol by volume.
When looking for quality adult recreational sports in Nashville, look no further than Mid-State Sports. With over 25,000 participants, they are one of the largest sports organizations in the Southeast. Summer registration is now open for adult sports like softball, sand volleyball, soccer, flag football, kickball, and basketball. For a full list of adult sports offerings, check out midstatesports.com. It's no debate. Play Mid-State.
ESPN's Turon Davenport breaks down the Titans like no other.
On the field chemistry, I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's just going to be a process.
Catch TD Mondays at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Fridays at 8. Plus, the Talking with TD podcast drops every Wednesday.
When you draft players, it's not just for one season, it's for a career.
Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What's up, Nashville? This is Stephen A. Smith. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
A.J. Brown's not walking through that door anymore. Trayland Burks was drafted out of Arkansas to replace the production of A.J. Brown, and it's going to be interesting to see if the Titans, how they're going to evolve over the course of the season. Because, yes, they do lean into the run game. Can they continue to win in that form and fashion when you're going up against teams like Buffalo and Kansas City in the AFC and even the Cincinnati Bengals and the Chargers, who can put the ball in the air and light it up? The Indianapolis Colts, Doug, they now have a guy by the name of Matt Ryan, who we're going to talk about a little bit later. He can light it up. And they also have a run game. They have great balance on that Colts team. So, I do think there's pressure on Tannehill.
There you go. That was Solomon Wilcots this morning on SiriusXM NFL Radio. So I did my SiriusXM show on Saturday, and so what I'll do is I'll just watch, because no offense, but SiriusXM does not want me to go on there and start talking about, John Hines. Like, you got to talk about what everybody, so I got to
play the classics,
basketball and all this kind of stuff. So I'm watching SportsCenter Saturday morning. And they've got Jeremy Fowler, their insider who never has any new news. They had Jeremy Fowler on there, and they were talking about Malik Willis's first day at rookie camp. And I thought to myself, I go, first-round hype. First-round hype for a third-round pick. So they were talking at length about Malik Willis's comments about Tannehill and everything else. I'm like, okay, normally when the national media talks about something involving the Titans, it's like, oh, we got to talk about it, because if they're talking about the Titans across the country, we need to talk about what they're saying. Then this morning I woke up, I listened to Robby and Joe for a little bit, then I flipped over to NFL Radio to see what they were talking about. Teresa Walker was doing an interview on NFL Radio. Then the NFL, the Solomon Wilcots, Doug Whaley, the old general manager of the Bills, that show started, and they started talking about Tannehill and Malik Willis. And I know everybody wants to know what they thought of Malik, the first couple of days. I don't care. This is going to sound crazy, but the dichotomy between what I think matters here and what I think matters there is, I think, I've never seen this with the Titans. Normally, if something matters to the country about the Titans, then it absolutely matters to the city about the Titans. And I know Malik Willis does matter. In every practice, in every preseason game, we'll be talking about how Malik looked. And we probably do look at him right now in pencil as the heir apparent to Tannehill at quarterback. But, those teams that Solomon Wilcots was just talking about, when he talks about the Bills and the Chiefs and the Bengals and the Colts that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about trying to compete for the Super Bowl this season. And Malik Willis is not a part of the competing for the Super Bowl this season. Trayland Burks very much is a part of competing for the Super Bowl this season. And so you want to know my theory on this is?
What's your theory?
Nobody there cares about the Titans competing for the Super Bowl.
People care about quarterback controversies.
Solomon Wilcots does not care if the Titans compete for the Super Bowl. There are going to be 7 new teams. On average, half the teams that make the playoffs one year won't make it the next year. Well, the Steelers are probably not going to make the playoffs. The Raiders are probably not going to make the playoffs. There's a handful of teams that you can look at and say, Mac Jones, year 2, are the Patriots going to make the playoffs? Yeah, probably not. Maybe, I don't know.
Philly, question mark.
You can put all these teams in there. But right now, Indianapolis is the favorite to win the division. And the people that talk about this stuff on TV and that break it down in the national media, they do not care if the Titans make the playoffs. They do not care if the Titans compete for the Super Bowl. I care if the Titans compete for the Super Bowl. You all care if the Titans are competing for the Super Bowl this year. And I'm just going to keep using that term over and over again because I will say this. They did compete for the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
I know they lost in the divisional round of the playoffs, but they were a Super Bowl competitor last year. They were the number 1 seed in the AFC. They lost by 3 points. And I'm not doing the if this didn't happen or if that had happened. I'm just talking, the facts. That they lost by 3 points against Cincinnati, who ended up going to the Super Bowl. So I think after an AFC championship game, a division, a number 1 seed, competing with the team that ended up representing the AFC, the Titans very much should be competing for the Super Bowl this year. And that's the only thing I'm going to say. The entire spring, the entire summer is competing for the Super Bowl. So that nobody can come to me at the end of the season and say, well, nobody picked us, Jared. Not on this show, because we talk about competing for the Super Bowl. Well, if Trayland Burks' weight is something that we have to be paying attention to, then that does affect the competing for the Super Bowl. Malik Willis right now, and I love that they drafted him. I love quarterback controversy. It's me. I love controversy.
You love a good controversy.
And
who doesn't love a good controversy?
And who is the most anti-Tannehill person maybe on the planet?
You are.
So I would love to talk about all that, but it just doesn't matter to me right now. If they bust on Malik Willis, it doesn't matter to me because they'll just go get another quarterback. It's a 3rd-round pick. It's their second 3rd-round pick. Whatever. If they bust on Trayland Burks, someone might get fired. Like that, there is a big difference between those two. And so I just think the dichotomy of the fact that the national media is talking about the Titans and that quite often the national media does not talk about the Titans. And yet, I don't think what they're talking about really matters around here. I think it's crazy to me.
But also, too, if you look at on a national landscape, people care about the quarterback more than any other story. Of course, there's going to be an Odell Beckham Jr. story out there, a Jarvis Landry story out there. But I would say overall, 9 times out of 10, if there is an old quarterback story versus a rookie wide receiver story, they're rolling the quarterback controversy every single time.
Well, so I think Malik Willis might be something that people want to talk about more than the
That
Titans.
is true. I mean, it was a hyped-up draft pick.
First-round hype.
First-round hype. 3rd round. I mean, everyone was talking about it throughout the remainder of the 1st round, the 2nd round, the 3rd round, until he was picked. When is Malik Willis going to go? When is Desmond Ridder going to go? It was all of the focus was on the quarterbacks. Malik Willis was hyped up so much going into this draft, and they want to keep that rocking throughout the summer.
So I just thought that the dichotomy of it was just crazy. Like, I'm listening. I mean, they talked this morning on the SiriusXM show, Doug Whaley and Solomon Wilcots. They talked about Tannehill for like 25 minutes. I'd never hear that level of talk about Tannehill. I mean, Tannehill blew the game against the Bengals, and he was talked about for like one segment on ESPN that day because everybody else was focused on that great game between the Bills and the Chiefs and should the overtime rule be changed. And so everybody was talking about that. Oh, and Aaron got knocked out, and is he going to leave Green Bay? And everybody was talking about that. And the Titans never get talked about. That game was the least important game. It was the first game to kick off that weekend, which is the worst slot. Saturday afternoon is the worst slot to kick off a playoff game. And the Titans and the Bengals got it. And so nobody talked about it then, really. It was almost like it didn't happen because everybody was so worried about the Packers, and they were worried about the Brady who lost, and was he going to retire? And then there was Buffalo and Kansas City, and it's like now everybody's talking about Tannehill all the time, and it's almost like, wow, this is a show that does talk very often about Ryan Tannehill. And so it's almost like internally I'm like, I feel my forehead. Am I okay?
I don't know.
I mean,
should we call a hospital?
The country is talking about Ryan Tannehill, and I am sitting here being like, that's not the most important thing to me. I see your phones are loaded up, so we'll get to them next. 615-737-1025. We are live today at the Hermitage Golf Course out here. Again, Folds of Honor. We are raising money. This is, I believe, the 1025 The Game celebrity golf tournament out here benefiting Folds of Honor. We've already raised over $7,000, so come on out and support, or I believe there are ways to donate, which we will let the people know about when I figure those out. So 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 1025 The Game.
Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stillman and Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 1025 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
Scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Sunny, a little bit less humid, and cooler this afternoon. Highs upper 70s and lower 80s, but we make another run at the 90s in the second half of the week.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Empire Auto Parts has opened a brand new location in Nashville, Tennessee. They're hosting a hiring event with giveaways, sign-on bonuses, and more happening at Holiday Inn Express at the Crossings, 201 Crossings Place, May 16th through 20th from 9 a.m. to noon or 2 to 5. Empire Auto Parts offers hourly pay, full benefits, 401k matching, and more. Current job openings for warehouse associate, delivery drivers, customer service agents, account managers, and dispatchers. Apply now on Indeed at Empire Auto Parts Inc. Jobs or visit their website at EmpireAutoParts.com.
Out on the trail today, I noticed the signs of spring. A purple lilac, a monarch butterfly, crisp, cool air, and fresh, bright sunshine. And all this beauty puts me in the mood to head over to my favorite adult beverage depot, Red Spirits and Wine, where I can load up the wagon with the best wines, whiskey, and brews to wet my whistle. At Red, you'll always find the best selection and value, but their Cracker Jack crew is flat out second to none. Just square-dealing folks and straight shooters with great recommendations, and they never come off like some of those big-talking fancy pantsers that are just totally full of, well, let's just say fertilizer. Red Spirits and Wine is the only place I do my trading, and once you've seen Red, there just ain't no sense in looking elsewhere. It's like British pop singer Billy Ocean once said, no more love on the run. Red Spirits and Wine is the real deal. Open 7 days a week at Highway 70 South and Old Hickory Boulevard. And follow Red on Facebook and Instagram as well. We'll see you at Red.
Erectile dysfunction ruins sex, but it's more than that. It harms otherwise good relationships. It destroys marriages. It can cause depression and anxiety, and it can be extremely hard on a man's self-esteem. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. And if you're suffering with ED, if it's affecting you, I want you to know that if you're like most men, we can treat it and get you back to the man you used to be. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we're ED experts. Our protocols have success rates as high as 90%. We've successfully treated thousands of men in the Music City, and we have a variety of treatment options and treatment combinations that could have you performing like you haven't in years. You could even last up to an hour and experience great sex again that is satisfying for both you and your partner. In treating your health, expertise matters, so make an appointment today. Your initial appointment is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
Stillman and Company is on. Delivered by TriStar Moving.
I listen to Todd. We defer, to Todd. So, we all have to. We got to get these guys in here. We got to study. We got to learn what to do. Teach them our program. And so if he's back out there tomorrow, then we'll coach him up.
Obviously, you expect these guys to come in shape, but how much is something like that to be expected?
I think it's hard to think that they can recreate, with a trainer, how we do things, and we see that with guys that have come back and started with our off-season program and guys that have joined a few weeks in. It's just different, and I know that they're working and they think that they are trying to get in shape, but that's just not the case. And so that's something that we have to focus on and try to make sure that we're getting some work in. But, with all of them, trying to be as smart as we possibly can.
There you go. That was Mike Vrabel. Again, that was after Trayland Burks did not finish his first rookie minicamp. TD texted me. And, again, TD's my guy. It's like I was texting somebody last week, like, hey, we all disagree, we all this, that. TD said, why do you continue to make an issue of Burks' weight, and especially doing so in May? And I'm going to tell you what it is. And this is why maybe I should never be on a jury. So if I ever have jury duty, play this tape, and this should get me disqualified from being a panelist on that jury.
Noted.
But I read, Bruce Feldman is a very respected college football writer. Mm-hmm. And he talked to a bunch of anonymous sources for The Athletic before the draft about these guys. And you do have to take everything you read from an anonymous source with a humongous grain of salt, because you never know, are they trying to say something bad about the guy so he slides down or whatever. But Bruce Feldman talked to a wide receivers coach, and the question was, can Trayland Burks impact a game like Deebo Samuel? Wide receiver coach 3 says, quote, he is a freak show, but he is super raw. I think he can do anything you want him to do. He didn't really run routes at Arkansas. I don't blame those coaches. He was a really good player in that system. He runs a lot like Deebo, but he's a lot bigger than Deebo. He's about 2 biscuits away from being a flexed out tight end. And when you see Burks, and I watched some of the videos of Burks, you can see a guy, he can lose some weight. 225 at receiver, and I know he's more of a physical receiver than a burner. Like Tyreek Hill's never been 225.
No.
But, he's more of a physical receiver than he is a burner. So you want him to have, some strength on him or whatever. But this is a show that Floyd used to talk about Corey Davis needed to lose weight. And Corey Davis was much leaner than Trayland Burks. And I guess I'm concerned about it because they need him. Like with everybody else, Chig Okonkwo, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, tight ends take a long time to learn how to play in the NFL. Jonnu Smith took a long time before he was a legitimate, vital part of the Titans offense. I mean, I remember doing shows when Delaney Walker broke his ankle, and it was like, oh, no, Jared, what are they going to do? Jonnu Smith's not ready. And by the end of that year, Jonnu was kind of ready, and then he tore up his knee, and then he came back the next year, and Jonnu was, Jonnu Smith for those last 2 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, I want Chig Okonkwo to be ready to play right away, but I'm prepared for Austin Hooper to start at tight end and Jeff Swaim to be the number 2 tight end, and I'm fine there. I think Robert Woods will be fine. I mean, Derrick Henry, I think that's honestly the biggest question. Is Derrick Henry, on the decline, or is Derrick Henry going to pick up right where he left off? I think that's a legitimate, real question. But Burks has to play. I mean, if Burks doesn't play, then Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is starting for the Titans. And you are not going to compete for the Super Bowl with Nick Westbrook-Ikhine starting at wide receiver. So that's why I care about it. And, yeah, it's May, but the truth is I mean, a lot of these guys, it's like, oh, yeah, I'll get in shape later or something like that. Like, man, you're a rookie. Like, you're a rookie. You got to be ready to go. And all this stuff, too, about the other scouts that we're talking about, Trayland Burks. A wide receiver coach 1 said, I really like him. They used him like Deebo at Arkansas. He has to learn how to run routes. They do some go routes, but on film, he's rarely sinking his hips and running curls and comebacks. But there's stuff there, like the back-to-back catches against Ole Miss over the top of their heads. You're like, damn. So what's that mean? It means he's going to have to learn routes in training camp. And what are you going to have to do in order to be able to learn properly in practice? You're going to have to be in shape for practice. And if you're out of shape for practice, guess what happens? You get hurt. And so all those things are important to me. They're all important. Everybody on this team that was drafted this year can do what Caleb Farley did last year or Dylan Radins did last year, which was, look, if Roger McCreary's not ready, they're fine. They still got, Farley's going to come out there. They got Fulton. They got Buster Screen. They got Elijah Molden. They got Chris Jackson. They'll be fine. If Chig Okonkwo's not there, we went over the tight ends. I don't think they expect this Petit Ferrer to start day one. But if not, they'll be fine. And I guess the point I'm making is there is no, if Burks is not out there, that it's going to be okay. So, yeah, it's May. But all I have is that he didn't make it to the first practice.
But don't you think they know that? They drafted Trayland Burks to be the guy to start game 1 against the Giants.
But don't you
think
they
know
they
need
expected
Trayland
him to
Burks.
get through the first practice?
Yes, they probably did expect that.
I'll say this, too. I could see them drafting Trayland Burks and saying, we're going to have to cut 10 pounds. You know what I mean?
Probably so.
You know, to look right at it and say, hey, we're going to have to cut 10 pounds.
Go into it with the expectation.
And, I mean, it's not personal. You know what the old saying in football is? It's not personal, it's personnel.
Uh-huh.
It ain't personal. Personnel. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. I know we've been doing a lot of talking so far. We're out here live at the 102.5 The Game, 106.3 The Game at the Folds of Honor Golf Classic, where we've already raised a bunch of money and we can raise a lot more. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. What do we have?
One texter texts in and says, most people who play sports will know that if you're out of shape for the first practice, you'll be out of shape for the second practice. So if he made it through the second practice, then he is not out of shape.
I think that's pretty simplistic. I think that's the hope. But again, the hope and week 1 in the middle of September heat in Nashville against the New York Giants are two totally different things. I mean, I'm down to hope, too. I remember when I was a kid, the Titans would be lousy, and they would pick a guy, 5th overall. And every year when they'd kick the ball off to start the season, I would be like thinking internally, man, this is the year. And I think right now Titans fans are in a position to where they can think that this might be the year. I mean, I can make a case for it. And so, I mean, everyone's got to be ready to play week 1. And that's all I'm worried about is being ready to play week 1. And if he plays week 1 and goes off and people are like, what do you think now, Jared? I'll be like, this is exactly why it was important to me, that he be ready to go. What do we have?
Josh texts in and says, I'm not worried. We don't know why he struggled. Maybe it was the heat, but he was back out there the very next day and played decently. So stop overreacting. May, the Colts wide receiver, also left early in their minicamp as well.
You know what I thought when I saw that Alec Pierce didn't make it through the Colts minicamp?
What?
Good. Good. Because I'm worried about the Colts.
But I also don't want to hear that as justification for Trayland Burks leaving early.
That Alec Pierce left?
Yes. Like, that, okay, that doesn't mean anything to me.
Well, say this. If you were a Colts fan and you saw that Trayland Burks didn't make it through his first practice, wouldn't you think, good?
Yes, probably so. But it doesn't mean anything like, oh, well, he couldn't make it through the first practice, so it's okay. I bet doesn't know, because I don't know what the Colts' expectations for Alec Pierce are. I don't know if they're expecting him to come in and be their wide receiver 2 game 1. That's not justification for me. It's not enough for me.
They don't have anybody else. I mean, the Colts, it's Matt Ryan, Jonathan Taylor, and Michael Pittman, and then all guys that are drafted. And so they better hope. And they weren't high draft picks because they gave it away for Carson Wentz. So the Colts need Alec Pierce. I mean, they need him. Now, again, I'm not trying to justify anything. They play their games in a dome. So I don't know how hot it is in September in Indianapolis. Clearly it's not as hot as it is here. But those first games, they'll be when they're at home, they'll be in a dome.
Mm-hmm.
But they need him to play right away, too. So, to your point, I think you're right. It doesn't justify that Trayland Burks didn't make it through. I'm not saying Trayland Burks is a bad guy, or Trayland Burks is a bad player, or Trayland Burks was a bad pick, or Trayland Burks. I'm saying that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign to not make it through your first rookie camp practice. What else we got?
Fred in Ashland City texts in and says, I bet Vrabel works those rookies to death. He doesn't mess around and probably expects a level of fitness from those guys that they have never seen.
So I will say this about Vrabel.
I'm sure there's a good bit of truth to that.
Vrabel does not work anybody to death. Mike Vrabel was in the Players Association. And by being in the Players Association, what that means is he knows exactly what the rights of the players are. And Mike Vrabel knows that when you don't follow the rules, that it can come back on you, and it can be draft picks, but also fines. And most people don't mind when the team gets fined, but they don't like it when they get fined. And so I've seen guys working on the side after practice and asking a coach questions, and Vrabel breaking it up and saying, like, no, I don't want to hear from the union on this. So to think like that Mike Vrabel...
I think he probably pushes them pretty hard.
In practice, I would assume so.
Yes.
But you can't... I mean, there's only so much you can do, right? Like, you can only have so many padded practices. And you can only do so much. I mean, I don't think... This isn't like the old days where Bill...
his players.
But I don't think you can really be... In today's NFL, I don't think you can really be harder than the next guy.
I don't know.
It doesn't allow... The rules just don't allow you to.
But I do think that there is a good bit of truth to Trayland Burks being pushed a little bit harder because he has higher expectations than any other rookie on that field.
They need him to go. Like, they need him to
ready.
go. They need him to go.
So I do think that there's a good bit of truth to him being pushed harder earlier.
But I don't think it's like, I don't think this is like Coach Carter where they ran the suicides all day or whatever and then they were ready to play, and that other high school basketball coaches probably aren't doing that. I mean, I don't think, and I'm not saying that all practices are the same, but as far as what you can do, it is so limited. Because what the owners do is they give away, like they don't give away things that make them money. Practice doesn't make them money. So, like, the idea of no two-a-day practices or limiting the amount of pads
That's
or
fine.
what they can do, the owners are fine giving that back because it doesn't affect their bottom line. You want to talk about Thursday night football, now they got a problem because they're getting $1 billion a year for that. So that's why, I just don't, this idea like, Vrabel can push a guy harder than the next guy. He can be meaner to the guy, but I'm not sure he can work them harder, especially at this point of the year. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We will get back to your phone, 615-737-1025. But coming up next, ESPN's power rankings are out. And I guess these are the post-schedule power rankings, which I do think you need to have post-schedule power rankings. And what the expectations apparently are might be good enough for them, might be good enough for you, Caroline, might be good enough for you, the fans, but it ain't good enough for me. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Weekday mornings from 5 to 9.
Did you see the Tennessee Titans? He has all the weapons to make it happen.
There's so much to pay attention to. Greeny from 9 to 11.
Ryan Tannehill is the most disrespected player.
Art and Hahn from 11 to 2.
You never stop punching.
They've got to learn how to close the deal.
And the Paul Feinbaum Show afternoons from 2 to 6.
Are these legitimate contenders to the party?
Your exclusive home for ESPN Radio in the Music City.
ESPN
94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
This segment of ESPN 102.5 The Game is brought to you by Train Heating and Cooling Systems. Tested, retested, engineered, and re-engineered to keep up with you. We run together. Visit traininfo.com to find your local independent Train dealer. Traininfo.com. It's hard to stop a train.
Well, now we're really getting down to it, the NBA playoffs, folks, and you can make every game feel like Game 7 on FanDuel Sportsbook, an official partner of the NBA. Joe Rexrode here to let you know that throughout the playoffs, all customers can place a no-sweat same-game parlay each week. You get up to $20 in free bets if you don't win. FanDuel has so many ways to play. Best of all, when you win, you get paid faster than a fast break. It's easy, it's safe, it's fun. If you're new, download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up with the promo code Joe102. Get your first bet risk-free up to $1,000. Again, that's promo code Joe102. And if you already have an account, you're all set to bet, no sweat. Either way, you get up to $20 in free bets if your same-game parlay during the playoffs doesn't win. We are at the conference final level. How about some Dallas, Golden State, Miami, Boston? I don't think a lot of people had that exactly as your bracket. These should be great series, and you can have more fun with them on FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel Sportsbook is an official partner of the NBA. You must be 21 or older in present Tennessee. Refund issued is non-withdrawable. Free bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max free bet $20 per week. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
There are jewelry stores, and then there's Genesis Diamonds, the cutting-edge industry leader, the pioneer. It's no secret that jewelry stores across America watch what Genesis is doing. Genesis was the first to offer a free lifetime warranty, the first to offer a 110% diamond upgrade guarantee, the first to offer aggressive long-term zero-interest financing. And Genesis is always on the cutting edge in design and fashion. The styles other jewelers say are new and exciting were new and exciting for us 4 years ago. Genesis has the fashion-forward brands other stores aren't even allowed to carry. It's no wonder you see jewelers from other cities coming to Genesis to see what we're all about, and even buy their wives' jewelry from us. For selection, quality, service, warranties, and guarantees, Genesis leads. Others follow. So for diamonds, engagement rings, exclusive designer jewelry for any occasion, don't compromise. Come to the jeweler that sets the industry standards year after year. Genesis Diamonds and pre-owned Rolexes, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Attention, buckaroos. It's time for the Franklin Rodeo, so saddle up and hold on to your lasso. It's 3 days of bull riding, calf roping, western wear, funny clowns, and some of the most talented horses you've ever seen. Join the Stampede this weekend. The Franklin Rodeo is held at the Williamson County Ag Expo Park and is brought to you by Franklin Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, Williamson Medical Center, Wesley Mortgage, and Event 1FX. Tickets on sale now at franklinrodeo.com. It's a buckin' good time.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Today, we are benefiting Folds of Honor all day with the Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament.
Text DONATE to 615-737-1025 to benefit Folds of Honor, Tennessee.
ESPN 1025 and 1063 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game. And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stone & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 1025. The game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios today at the Music City Golf Classic. Our golf tournament right here presented by, or benefiting Folds of Honor. As we are out here hanging out, you can text DONATE to 615-737-1025 if you cannot make it out here today but still want to help Folds of Honor, which is for our veterans. So, again, that's donate to 615-737-1025. So, the power rankings, ESPN has released their post-draft, post-schedule power rankings. And I do believe in waiting until the schedule before you actually power rank, because there are some weird intricacies about the schedule that I think are important. But so, regardless, they have the Titans 11th, which is better than last week when we looked at the Athletic, and the Athletic had the Titans 15th. And so this goes back to a lot of the discussion that we had last week about, preseason expectations. And I don't remember what the preseason expectations for me for the Predators were. I have no recollection. But everybody's sitting there now saying, well, nobody expected them to do well in the playoffs, so don't be mad that they didn't do well in the playoffs. And I'm just going to tell you right now, whether it's the Athletic at 15, ESPN at 11, maybe I'm irrational. Because here are the teams they have ahead of the Titans. They have the Titans at 11th. They have Baltimore at 10. San Francisco at 9. Dallas at 8. Dallas
is always going to be top 10, and they're never going to finish top 10.
Dallas is going to suck this year. But that's neither here nor there. The Chargers at 7.
Which I think is a little overinflated.
Bengals at 6. Chiefs at 4. Bills at 1. And so I'm just going through the AFC teams pretty much after you did that. But the point, I guess, the way that I look at it is maybe that's their preseason expectations for the Titans. Maybe the Athletic beat writers, their preseason expectations for the Titans is 15th. Because nothing's going to change between now and when everybody starts making their preseason, outside of Drew Brees on retiring, nothing is going to change the preseason ranking system between now and training camp. So whatever you want to say, like whatever it is now is probably what it's going to be when the Titans show up to practice in July. Well, this may be what their expectations for the Titans are, but those aren't my expectations for the Titans. My expectations for the Titans is to compete for the Super Bowl. If that means that they're 4th, or if it means that they finish 2nd, or if it means that they finish 5th, or if it means that they finish whatever, I'm fine with that. You can make the argument last year they finished 8th because they lost in the divisional round of the playoffs, and you would argue Buffalo was better than them, Green Bay was better than them, and Tampa Bay was better than them. So you could say they finished 8th last year. While I was unhappy with why they lost, and I thought they needed to make adjustments to why they lost, Tannehill, I do think at the same time, though, with the season overall, I was pleased with it because they competed for the Super Bowl. And I know they traded away A.J. Brown, and everybody's a year older, and it's harder to win this league, and Indianapolis got a better quarterback, and Jacksonville spent a ton of money, and I understand all that. But my expectations have not changed. So I want them to compete for the Super Bowl. And I don't know what place that is, but 11th is not good enough for me. 15th, the Athletic last week, which would be out of the playoffs because only 14 teams make it, that's not good enough for me. In all seriousness, being behind the Ravens, that's not good enough for me. So we can say, okay, well, nobody believed in the Titans because Athlon Sports ranked them here. But I don't care about that. All I care about is this team competing for the Super Bowl? And we never had that expectation on the Predators this past year. We never said, they need to be competing for the Cup. but I think we all expected a little bit better than what happened in the playoffs. And so, to me, like, I feel now the need in the city to outline what my expectations are for everybody, and I do it with these power rankings of 11th's not good enough. You know, if they finish 11th this year, which would be losing on wild card weekend, if they win the division and they come in third place and they host the Chargers and they get beaten in Nashville by the Chargers, or they host the Broncos and Russell Wilson and they get beat by them, that's not going to be okay for me. I was listening to Stephen Jones, who is the essential son of the owner for the Dallas Cowboys. I think his title is like vice president or assistant general manager, but I mean, come on now.
It's all under the same umbrella.
He's Jerry's kid, and he's going to be the GM when Jerry passes because that's, how
Jerry
works.
runs things.
That's how ownership works. And I was listening to him last week on Sirius, and Stephen Jones was asked about the Cowboys, and he talked about how he expects them to be better than they were last year. Then was asked about losing Amari Cooper and said, well, we'll just have the other guys that are already there will get more targets, which that didn't make a lot of sense to me. And then was asked about the defense, and they lost Randy Gregory, but they drafted somebody from Ole Miss in the second or third round, so they expect to be better on defense. And even though they got rid of Lyle Collins, they expect to be better on the offensive line. And I'm like, that doesn't necessarily add up to me. But he was asked about Mike McCarthy. How do you and Jerry feel about Mike McCarthy? And he talked about Mike McCarthy, and he said that, oh, yeah, Mike's a great coach. Mike had played a big role in our success last year. Mike had a lot of great success in Green Bay. But we want to win in the playoffs. And that's a big deal to us. And it's a big deal to Jerry, and we think that Mike is the perfect guy to lead us there. So what I interpreted from that was Stephen and Jerry Jones look at Mike McCarthy and think, you better get us deep into the playoffs. This losing on that quarterback sneak at the end of the game against San Francisco this year is not going to be acceptable. And that's how I look at the Titans. And I'm like, my expectation is for the Titans to compete for the Super Bowl. And if the Titans don't make the playoffs this year, I'm not going to be very happy. And if the Titans do what they did in 2020, where they make the playoffs, but they are so deficient in one area of the team that they have no chance to compete for the Super Bowl, I'm not interested in doing that. And so that is the way that I look at all these power rankings and everything else, is that's their expectation for the Titans. 11th. That's not my expectation. My bar is higher. And I think that they've proven over the last couple of years that they should be competing for the Super Bowl.
A couple questions for you. You talk about Stephen Jones. Trading Amari Cooper doesn't necessarily make the Dallas Cowboys better. It alleviates their financial burden toward Amari Cooper. That doesn't make the Cowboys better.
Well, the Cowboys
trading away A.J. Brown didn't make the Titans better. Yes, they drafted Trayland Burks, and we can see what he turns into. But I don't know if the expectations that you have for the Titans to be able to compete for the Super Bowl necessarily adds up with their offseason moves.
Okay, so I would argue
getting rid of Roger Saffold doesn't make you better.
I would argue it like this, and I agree with you about the offensive line. Offensive line's a mess. But the Titans went and traded for Robert Woods. Robert Woods is better than Julio Jones.
Yeah,
he's better for this offense than
upgrade.
Julio Jones. He is not like an ACL is an ACL. An ACL is not the same as a hamstring or a neck injury or like a degenerative injury.
I mean, if he can play in more than half the games of the season and score more than a touchdown, then yes, that's better than Julio Jones.
It's like a cold. We know how long colds last, and then colds are over. This just happens to last longer, but Robert Woods will ultimately be okay. So I look at it like they didn't really have a tight end last year. They supposedly have a tight end this year. And so I do think their offense, like if you were to say, okay, you lost A.J. Brown, why is your passing game going to be better? When Stephen Jones was asked about, you lost Amari Cooper, why are you going to be better? It was, well, we re-signed Michael Gallup, so we'll get some more targets for him, and we'll get more targets for C.D. Lamb, and so that's what we're going to do. Whereas here, it's, well, we didn't really get anything out of Julio, and we traded for Robert Woods.
So that's an automatic upgrade.
So I look at it like Julio, Ferkser, Brown, or Burks, Woods, Hooper. And I would argue that I would take the latter.
I probably would as well.
So that's why I'm not, that's, again, like, you want, like, this is why I think of the Titans offense. It all matters. All that matters is the running back. Like, if Derrick Henry is back to being Derrick Henry, then the Titans will definitely compete for the Super Bowl. If Derrick Henry is over the hill and the foot injury is still a problem, and he is what he looked like in the Bengals playoff game, then the Titans probably aren't going to be very good. I know that's so simplistic to sit there and say that, but I do think the running back plays a huge role in this. The offense doesn't really change that much, but I think Woods is very consistent, high target guy. I think he and Tannehill will be great. I'm just saying, regardless of what happened in the offseason, regardless of who they drafted, my expectation is to compete for the Super Bowl. And I don't want to use these little caveats of, they didn't address right tackle, so they don't have a right tackle, and that comes up to bite them, and they end up not competing for the Super Bowl. Well, Jared, how could you have expected them to compete for the Super Bowl when they didn't have a right tackle, which is a position that you say they can't live without?
Get a right tackle.
I don't care. I don't care. When they lost that Bengals game, I'm thinking about how you get back to that spot and don't throw 3 interceptions. Not, now things are... Now, I'll say this. Let's say Derrick Henry is not back to being Derrick Henry. You probably will see almost a massive reset on offense. And there's a chance the Titans won't be very good. There's a chance this could be the last year of the window. There's a chance that the window could be closed, and by October 17th, we'll all know it. Those are all legitimate possibilities. But that's not my expectation, and that's not where I live right now. 615-737-1025. Add that to the pile to get your reaction on. 615-737-1025. I don't care what ESPN says about it or anything else. And speaking of expectations of the Titans, the national TV schedule. Once I did some more homework about, what the rules are and how games got scheduled, the national TV schedule is actually a tip of the cap to the Titans. I'll explain that next. Stillman and Company, right here at ESPN 102.5 The Game.
At some point, it's a combination of who did you play and what does your skill set look like.
Get the best analysis of the big stories in the sports world with ESPN's Jason Fitz.
If you reach for a quarterback in the draft because you need one, you're going to set your franchise back 5 years.
Join Fitzy every Wednesday at 4:30. Presented by Blood Assurance. Jason Fitz.
I am 5'9.5".
On ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
Don't miss Nashville SC versus CF Montreal on May 18th at 7:30 p.m. Single match tickets are on sale now at NashvilleSC.com/singletix. That's NashvilleSC.com/singletix.
Realizing Geico is your one-stop shop for all your insurance needs is like realizing you can just toss the whole measuring cup into the washer so it won't get gunked up with laundry detergent.
I guess it doesn't work for coffee mugs, huh?
It's something that's been right in front of you this whole time, like how Geico offers 24/7 emergency roadside service to help you when you need it most. Or how athletic wristbands aren't for your wrists, they're for wiping sweat off your forehead.
Great. So, what are headbands for?
80s night at the dance club. Woo!
It's something you can't believe you never realized before, like how Geico makes it easy to bundle your home and car insurance, with even more ways to save when you add boat, motorcycle, and RV insurance. Or how a pony is its own animal and not just a baby horse.
So, what's a baby pony called?
Getting more ways to save. It's just one of the many reasons to switch to Geico. They're all right there in front of you.
If you snore, it may be a sign of a more serious, possibly life-threatening condition. Most people think of snoring as a nuisance, but it's a much more serious medical condition than you think. Snoring has been associated with chest pain, sleep apnea, high blood pressure, chronic pain, obesity, headaches, and sore throat. Take a listen to what some of our patients are saying about the revolutionary Vivo system.
Right after I started using it, I noticed the results really, especially with the snoring. My sleep apnea episodes are a fraction of what they were before. This product's phenomenal. It changed my life.
I am 100% happy that I did this, and I'm thankful every day that I have it.
If you're curious about our sleep devices, call now for a sleep consultation. Don't let your spouse have to sleep in the guest room, and don't risk the severe health complications of snoring and sleep apnea.
Dr. Kelly Rice is certified to provide the Vivo system to open the airway for a better night's sleep. Call 615-373-4488 or go to BrentwoodSleepApnea.com to see which therapy can work best for you.
Individual results may vary. Always seek the advice of your health provider with any questions regarding a medical condition.
Summer heat is on the way. Is your air conditioner ready?
Costs are rising everywhere. Groceries, gas, utilities, you name it. Is your AC old, inefficient, and cost you more than it should? Interest rates are rising, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Qualified buyers have up to 72 months no interest for a new York air conditioner and 6 months no interest for repairs. At
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar, moving ESPN 102.5. The game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Games Studios. Fireball Hot Take Friday, Caroline Fenton on remote.
Folds of Honor provides educational scholarships to the families of military men and women who have fallen or been disabled while on active duty in the United States Armed Forces. Since 2007, Folds of Honor has awarded nearly 29,000 educational scholarships. Help families of soldiers who gave the ultimate sacrifice. Join the game Nashville for a day of online and on-air giving. Today, text keyword donate to 615-737-1025.
Indy Week 4, Washington Week 5 to start. All of those teams
at 615-737-1025.
either have a new offensive coordinator or a new quarterback.
How much does Justin Herbert in Los Angeles, can we see that maybe transform this season as far as TV eyes and great football?
Indy has Matt
I
Ryan,
think it's a
Washington
great
has Carson
question
Wentz.
because
And I don't think it's
he's
overly
definitely a
hard to
guy
start
that's
the
getting a lot of
season. I think there are
attention.
games to win.
Certainly the way
I
he
think the
entered this
Titans
league and taking over
got
for
a
Tyrod
fair
Taylor so early.
schedule. Chad, I know you've looked at
and
the
playing at
Titans
such a high
schedule. What do you
level,
think of it?
got him a lot of attention.
Well, I'm with you, and I think a little bit of a different reason. I think it's the
to
start.
understand how they
hit on it there,
translate
Jared,
nationally,
where
especially
the start
playing
of the
in
schedule
the
is
same
favorable.
stadium
But
with
when you look
the
at
Super
those
Bowl
5
champs
opponents,
and the team
they
that's
have a
going
great
to
chance
dominate
to
that
get
market.
out to
The
me
Chargers,
at 3-2 at
like it or not,
and have a win
because
over the
of
Colts
history,
in
because
hand,
of their previous
and
market,
go 1-0
because of
in the division,
what they've
and
been
have that
on the
win, that
national
one win over the
landscape.
Colts out of the
I
way.
think it's going to
I don't
take
like how it sets
real
up where they
success.
play
So
the
they've got to
Colts
jump out of the
so
gate
quick,
with a lot of football
3 or 4
games
weeks apart
and get
on
on
the schedule.
everybody's radar.
That's
I
my
think to
biggest
get the kind
gripe
of
with it.
attention that you're
But I
talking
mean,
about.
if you beat the Colts twice
There you go.
in
That was
stretch,
Bruce Murray.
you're
He's
looking really good to
hosting
go
the
ahead and
Sirius
win the
XM
division
NFL Blitz
at that
on the
point.
Sirius
So,
show this past
look,
week.
there's
We
going to
got
be a
Justin
tough
Herbert
stretch in every NFL
and the Chargers
schedule.
because
I was reading
did
the
a
Athletic
deep dive
today,
on
and the
Saturday
Titans were tied for the
into the
24th
NFL
schedule in the
By the way, how'd you like the
schedule in the league.
text
So
on like 11 o'clock
basically
Saturday morning
8 from the
about
bottom
the Dallas
of the
Cowboys
easiest
schedule?
schedules, one of the easiest schedules in the league, which is a good
text on
thing.
Saturday morning.
So
Did
I
I send
think
you a
that
text Saturday morning? I
start
don't
is
think
really
so.
the key for the
I
Titans.
thought I did.
If they can get out to 3
Oh, what was
and 2
it?
and
What's
one
the
of those
Cowboys
3
schedule?
wins
So the Cowboys,
being
I
over
think,
the
get
Colts,
absolutely
I think that's a
smoked
great start to
at
the
the beginning
season.
of their schedule
And for
compared
that
to the
reason, I
Eagles.
actually like
So
their
the
schedule and think
Cowboys
it's pretty
play
favorable.
their first
we
5
looked at
games, and the 6th
national
game is
games
at
for the
Philadelphia.
Titans, and
First 5 games for Dallas:
again,
Tampa Bay
4
at
national
home,
games
Cincinnati
is
at home,
good.
Giants,
But Buffalo,
Washington at
Kansas
the Rams.
City, Green Bay, and
So
Dallas.
I think they easily could be
And
2 and 3 by
I
the
hate
end of
to
that.
say
Oh,
this,
probably so.
Going to
but
Philly.
It doesn't feel like
Philly,
that's a
at
reflection
Detroit,
of respect on the Titans.
Minnesota,
It is
Washington,
pretty much
Jacksonville,
because
and
they
Arizona.
want Josh Allen on TV.
You've
they
got to
want
be kidding
Mahomes
me.
So
on
I think they
TV,
could be
they
4
want
and
the
1.
Cowboys on TV.
Play in
They want
Philadelphia
Rodgers
in
and
Week
Green Bay on
5.
TV.
And if
Do you
Philadelphia is
have
5-1
issue
and
with
Dallas
that? Do you think it's a lack of respect?
and Dallas
do you
is
think it's a
2
sign
and
of
4,
respect that
you don't
hey,
catch up.
You know,
from
back
that.
in the day when the Titans
And
had
then,
all, like,
I mean,
good
the
quarterbacks, they wouldn't put
Cowboys,
the
think about all the
Titans on TV.
drama.
How do you feel
about, I mean,
the respect
they'll want Mike
angle from what
McCarthy's job on
television
that
decided to
day
do
if they lose to the Eagles on Sunday night.
So all of those teams
I
got
was
the
looking at
max of
that,
5
but I was going through all the
games,
different
for national
schedules
TV
because
exposure.
I was
You can
talking
only
about
get
the schedule
5
release on
at the
Sirius and like
most.
what
And the
interests
teams
me.
the Titans
And
are playing
there's a game I
all
got
have
So
5 of those games.
the Bengals max out on primetime.
So yeah, I
games,
mean it's
and they have
about those
3 late
teams,
window
but
games.
they
Tampa
could have
Bay,
picked a
Kansas
lot of
City,
other
Dallas.
opponents too.
I think it's
within
like
their schedule
Dallas,
to get to those
Kansas
5
City,
games.
Buffalo,
so the Titans
and
are
the
part of the
Rams
reason
have the
being a
have
team
the
that was
most
number 1 seed in the
games that are
AFC a
either
year ago.
primetime or the
So
3:30
yeah, it's
window,
more
which is
about the
not a-
teams they're playing. But I mean, I love that. The
New
chance in Week
England
2 to
only
play
has
on Monday
4
Night
primetime
Football
games,
in
and they're
Buffalo
all
against the
kind of
Bills,
games. Monday night,
the
2
chance
Monday
to play
nighters,
a
and a Thursday
game
nighter on
in
Thanksgiving
Lambeau
against Minnesota, which
on a
I'm not
Thursday night. I mean,
But
I think these are
they play
great
a Sunday night
opportunities for
football
the
game
Titans.
in Vegas.
Now we've talked a lot about
And,
it, Jared.
you know,
and
it's
I don't know if the
Belichick
Titans are
versus
going to be all that
McDaniels and
good
Mac Jones
this year
versus
with
Carr.
Ryan Tannehill at quarterback.
Don't you
But
think there's a
when
chance
you look at a
those two teams
schedule,
might not be
I
very
was watching
good.
all these teams'
Like, come
schedule
November.
releases that they do with their
Probably
social
so.
media
And
teams.
I think the game's in
and I love
December.
the one the Chiefs
So
did
they
where it's
could
just
both be
Andy Reid
non-factors in
responding
December.
to the schedule.
So I looked at the
and Andy
schedule,
Reid was getting most
and I
excited
looked at
about
the
those
rules
big
about
national
flexing,
TV
and the only thing
matchups
that you can
with really
flex
good teams.
is
I
a
look at the
late
Titans schedule and I get
afternoon
excited about those
Sunday
games
game.
too because I think, man,
Apparently,
this is a
you
great
cannot flex
opportunity
Monday night this year.
for
I
the
thought you
Titans
could,
on national
but you
TV,
can't.
on a
And obviously
national
you can't flex
broadcast
Thursday.
I think
to
you
show
could this
something
past
and do
season,
something.
unless that's a new
So
season.
from that perspective, I think it's good. But
you
yeah,
could never flex
overall, with
Monday,
those
but it gets
opponents,
talked about
it's way
all the
more
time
about the opponent.
when we
than
get
the
stuck
Titans.
on a game where like
You know,
one team's
thing that
quarterback's hurt, the
we
other team's
talked about
stinks.
yesterday, the
And it's like,
3:25 kickoff. Now,
like
Carolina's
Seattle
going to get on me
wins was on
she got on me about it
Monday
today.
Night
She got
Football,
on
and
me
it
about
was
it
Monday Night Football,
TD got on
Patriots,
me about it
Bears.
yesterday.
There's a chance those two
I
might
think the
stay.
325, when I think
anywho,
of that 325 game, it's usually the Cowboys or
CBS
Packers
in the
on
Peter
Fox,
King article,
or for
CBS
years it was
asked
Tom Brady or Peyton
specifically for
Manning on
Bengals and
CBS.
Bucks.
And
So
that was
that
the
game
game
is
that
the
most
late
of the
afternoon
country
game.
got.
That game is
Jim Nance,
protected.
Tony Romo,
Now the
Joe
NFL
Buck,
could
Trayman, I know
say,
they're
"I
now
would rather put it in
ESPN,
Sunday
but
night,"
for
but
years
normally
they
they don't
used to do
take the
that.
protected
The Titans
game
aren't
and do
in
that.
any of those games.
So what they
they're
did
kind of the
is they put the Titans and the Chargers that
Giants,
week
the
because
Texans,
I think
the
that
Chargers,
is the
they're the
in
secondary
case
game.
New
They're not
England
the main. Where you look at
versus
it, okay,
Vegas
Tony
is not
Romo
worth
and Jim
showing
Nance
on
are
Monday
going
night
there.
on Sunday Night Football. Titans Chargers
now they can play their
slides
way
right
into
into that spot,
Do
which
you
would max
view
the
that
Titans
game
out
as something
at
that the
5
Titans
primetime
need to
games.
find their way into
Also,
in terms of
all of the Titans
is it a
primetime games
popularity
except
thing? Is it a how much
for
they
the
matter
Chiefs
thing?
game
To
are
me, it just bothers
unflexible.
me that after the
So
success
they're
that they've
Thursday
had over the
nighters
last
against
4
the
years
Packers
with
and the
Vrabel
Cowboys,
that they,
and then of
Chad,
course
are
there's
not
the Monday
in
nighter
the
against
Jim
Buffalo
Nance,
week
Tony
2.
Romo win.
I don't foresee them
Doesn't
flexing
bother me
Patrick
one
Mahomes
bit
at home
because the
out of
Titans
Sunday
haven't
Night
earned
Football
it,
anyways.
quite frankly.
So I think
mean,
those
look,
4
Jared,
games are pretty much set in
the
stone.
Titans were the number 1
And then
seed
this
last year,
nugget
and we
from
kept
Peter
saying the
King
whole
this
time,
morning, I
why
thought
aren't
was
the national media
incredibly
paying more attention to the
interesting.
Titans?
So
they keep talking about the Colts. They
because
keep
of
talking
the
about
money
these other
that
teams,
Amazon is paying,
but no one's talking
$1
about the
billion
Titans.
for
They're going to be
Thursday
the
night
number 1
football.
seed in the AFC.
The NFL
the Titans
wanted
went out
to
there and
give
they
them
lost
a
to
good
Cincinnati
enough slate.
at home in
They
game
didn't want
1.
to give them a Sunday
and that
night
just
slate,
affirmed every
but they
bad
didn't want to do
feeling the
what they did
national
to
media had about the
ESPN after the
Titans.
TV show
Fair
Playmakers
or
aired,
not,
where they
that's
gave
exactly what
ESPN
everyone
just
thought.
crap
If you
games
were out on
for
the Titans,
years.
which were most
A
people
Titans-Jags
nationally,
moment.
because
There
of
were a
Ryan
lot
Tannehill,
of, like
that 3 interception
Texans
performance
on
and
Monday
loss to
Night.
Cincinnati
You know, so they
just
didn't want to,
confirmed everything you thought about the Titans.
No, you would get like the
and a lot of
Steelers
national
against the
media
Jets.
did a
So you'd get
victory
like a
lap.
premier team
So
in a big market, but you don't really
I don't
watch.
blame
So Peter King
anything
wrote
that happens nationally
the reason
that's
Tennessee Green
anti-Titans
Bay
for
is
that
on
very
Thursday
reason.
Night
Titans had a
Football is
chance
because
to go on a run.
The league
they had a
has
chance
basically
to
told
host
Amazon,
an
if you're
AFC
going to pay us $1
championship
billion
game,
to do these games,
and we're probably not
you have
talking
to do
about
all
this,
this extra
and we're probably
stuff
talking
to prove
about
that
more
you're worthy
games
of
in that
having the game.
325 window.
So they're
I'll
going to have
also say
like
this.
pregame shows
I don't see any
that are
level
supposed
of
to
winning
mimic college game day.
that the Titans could go
and
on
they want
right
to make
now.
it all
That's going to
pageantry,
make
and I
them as
think they're trying
nationally
to get Pat
relevant as the Green
McAfee
Bay
involved, and they're
Packers
going to hire
or
Kay
the Dallas
Adams to get involved,
Cowboys
and all this
or
stuff.
the
That's
New
why
England
they
Patriots
wanted
when
Al
Tom Brady
Michaels.
was
Like
there,
they were
or any
paying
of
the
these
money
teams. They're
because
just
like
not
that's
that
the deal with the
franchise.
NFL that
And
you
that's
get a premier
fine.
broadcast.
Titans fans can accept that,
apparently
be
they
okay
felt like,
with
well,
it.
we can't
They're
give
not
you
going to be
bad
that
games.
team.
So we need
but
a
if you look at
Packers
the
home
ratings
game
and let's
with
just look at the
Lambeau
numbers,
and the tradition,
that's typically the
and
most
we need a
watched
game to put on TV.
of
So
the
they put all
weekend. You're
this stuff
right.
into
It's
their
that
computers.
325
And according to
late
Peter
afternoon
King,
game
the
when everyone's
computers
home from
spit it out. In
church
fact, I'll just
and
read it to you
everyone runs around
directly
a television
that
leading into 60
late in the
minutes
process,
on CBS
92%
or
of
leading
the
into
schedule
Sunday
spat out
evening.
by the
That's the game
computers
that gets the most
had
eyeballs.
Jets Packers
Chad
as
Withrow
the
with his
Green
Outkick
Bay home
360.
game.
One team,
Peter
and
King
I don't
writes,
like go necessarily.
nice, but not great. Couldn't the league maybe find a better foe for the Packers, one that might make this a hotly contested game for 60 minutes? So Tennessee was put in the Week 11 Thursday night slot, traveling to Green Bay. A gift. The two 2021 1 seeds squaring off on the hollowed Lambeau grounds. That did create one problem that the league dreaded. Tennessee would be one of 2 teams, Dallas the other, to have to play 2 short week Thursday games this year. So this is the first time that has been required. So the Jets had the Jets stayed in the slot, Tennessee only would have had the 1 Thursday night game, and now the Titans have 2. So basically the NFL said, we'd rather have the Titans on TV and change a rule that we don't want to play with at all, which is no multiple Thursday nighters, except for Dallas. We don't really want to do this, but we so don't want to put the Jets on TV at Lambeau Field that we'll put the Titans. And, I mean, I'm tickled. Like, I can't believe this. I'm from the school that the Jets get put on TV over the Titans, even when the Jets suck, because the Titans are the Titans, and the Jets are in New York. And this was, we can't put the Jets on. Who Who can we put on that would be good? Let's put on the Titans. Oh, well, what about this Cowboy game? Because they could have easily changed the Cowboy game and moved those around, but instead they were like, no, keep the Titans on TV there, put the Titans on TV here, and those are unflexible games, and they're late in the year. So they're taking the risk. The league is telling you with the primetime schedules and having the Titans with 2 non-flexible games.
handing
on
Andy
Thursday
Reid
night
the schedule,
against
and Andy
two
Reid
premium
supposedly
opponents,
seeing it for the first time and
the
reacting
league is telling
to
you,
every game, and he was getting excited about all these tough matchups.
And they're
but
telling you
I think you're
that
onto
they
something,
think that
Jared.
you're more important
Probably
than the
not
Jets right
overly
now,
excited
which again,
when you look at the quality of teams are going to be
the
facing in that
idea
schedule.
of
Did we not already know that the
Bengals
Titans
have
were more
a
important than the
relatively
Jets?
easy
No,
schedule,
not
and I
to
think some of
TV.
this is
not to
because of the
TV.
divisions that
Jets,
they
I
have
just
to
think
play,
it's been
whereas
long enough
Kansas
and
City
they've
has to
been
play their
bad
own
enough.
division
And
twice,
nobody
which
wants
means
to watch
two
the
Herberts,
crummy crappy
two
Jets.
cars.
I
two
know
Russell
they're in
Wilsons,
New
and they
York.
play the first
It's the
place
same thing
schedule
with the
Josh
Giants.
Allen
I understand
and
that
the
they're in New York. I
Titans
understand
and
that the
whatever.
Bears are in Chicago.
So
but
Cincinnati
those
has a
are
relatively easy
snooze fests
schedule.
of
So
games.
the Peter King article says that Fox is anticipating
I love Joe
that
Burrow, and I
Thanksgiving
believe in
weekend
Joe Burrow.
will be the biggest
they got to
weekend
the
in the
Super
history
Bowl
of Fox
last
Sports.
year. They
Because
spent money on the offensive
Thursday
line.
they get the Cowboys and the Giants.
Just struggle.
And I
we
think the
always
quote
know
in
that
there
there's
from a
gonna be
league
teams that
executive
weren't
in the
good
Peter King article was
last
if the
year that will
Giants
be
have a
good
pulse,
this year,
that
there's
will
going to be
easily
teams that
draw
were
30
good
million
last year that
viewers.
won't be good this year.
So we can
I
sit
have
here
a
and
hard
poo-poo
time
the Jets and the Giants all we want, but they draw a lot of people to watch.
How do you feel about
and,
them?
Well,
I guess
I'll turn
they
it
have the
on
World
you.
Cup,
Who's winning
USA
that
versus
division?
Great Britain
If not Cincy, is it
is
Baltimore?
the next day, and then they have Michigan
Baltimore,
versus
Cleveland,
Ohio State. And then I think they have like the Cowboys versus, or not, the Cowboys play on it.
I think to answer that question, it all comes down to what do you think about Lamar Jackson and what do you think about what Deshaun Watson
So they have like
will do for
4
Cleveland?
huge days lined up in a row, which is
if the
actually
answer
why
is
the
you
Amazon
love,
Black Friday
you
gave
love
us
Lamar
$70
Jackson
million.
having a great year,
They didn't do
and
this
you
year
think Deshaun Watson
because they
makes
didn't want
Cleveland,
to stick
you know,
it to Fox,
whatever happens
who's
with
going to
Deshaun
have
Watson
the World Cup
ultimately,
at 2
but
o'clock.
whenever he's there with Cleveland,
what
what that makes them,
which makes sense to
I think
me.
that gives you an answer on Cincinnati. I'm with you in that. I think there's
you don't want to cannibalize yourself
for Cincy.
Well, the
not
NFL
that they're
would
going
be
to be
cannibalizing
bad long term with Joe
themselves. They
Burrow,
would be taking
but they're not
viewers
going to be some
away
Super
from
Bowl
Fox.
contender this
And
year.
they wouldn't want to do that.
But I really think
they don't have a problem taking viewers away from the World
looking
Series.
at Cincy on paper and looking at the rest of that division. You got Pittsburgh.
What was it?
Breaking in a new quarterback at some point, and Kenny Pickett.
Oh, basketball.
Baltimore.
Because
I
the
think
Fox,
they're
this
going to
is
be
not the
okay.
same as like
Cleveland.
hey,
who knows?
you know, we got 7 of
I
these
gotta
World
give
Series
Cincinnati
games
the
every
nod
single
to
year,
possibly win that
and
division
we'll
again. If
play
you're
on
a
Thursday
division
nights, we'll
champ,
play on Sunday nights.
you got a shot to go on a run. And go deep in the playoffs.
Once
so
every 4 years. The
it's a weird team to figure out going into this season. But if you ask me right now, I still think Cincinnati's going to win that division.
Stick our rear ends in Fox's face. They paid us.
I love the schedule release. I don't watch any of the shows about the schedule release. I just want to see the schedule. But I get excited about the schedule release.
And not a lot of respect for the Patriots.
Any of your opinions about the teams
2 Monday nighters, Chicago and Arizona,
based upon the
Thanksgiving finale against the
No,
Vikings,
but I did ask this question yesterday on Outkick 360.
And then that Sunday nighter against the
what's
the
better
Raiders,
for the fan?
in which the
No leaks,
very
having
easily
2 or 3
Titans
people
and
in the
Chargers
NFL's
could be
main office
flexed
that
into
knows
that
the
slot.
schedule,
To me,
and
the
everyone,
only
including
interesting
coaches,
storyline for that
finding out
game is Josh
together
McDaniels.
with a
And I
schedule
really don't.
show
I really
where they
don't
go
think
to the
that's like
schedules, similar to
in the grand
NCAA
scheme of
tournament
things to all
Selection
NFL
Sunday,
fans
where
with those
that
2
stays
teams. I don't
secret
think that that's
until
an
those
incredibly
brackets are
interesting
released
matchup,
and everyone
in my
finds
opinion.
out
Well,
together.
the Raiders are a popular
Is
team.
that more fun? You
So,
can go
as are the
live to some
Patriots.
team
So it's
gatherings or
popular
a couple
team,
players
greatest coach,
together,
but yeah, the Belichick
finding out
TV
their
schedule.
schedule. What's better for the
the
fan?
Dolphins might
That
actually have a better
or
TV
getting
schedule,
the
but
information
it
as
was
quickly
crazy
as
to see
possible,
that, and Peter King
even if
writes
it's a
that,
trickling
the
in
computers told the
the
NFL
days
put the
leading up
Jets
to
on
the
against
schedule release.
Green Bay.
I don't really know the answer.
And they
I do
ultimately
enjoy what the
decided,
teams do
we'd rather put the
individually
Titans on,
in their
which
schedule releases, and
I
I've
can't
watched
tell you how
every
many
single
times in
team's
my
video
life it's probably you can count
as
on
of this
one hand,
morning, so I enjoy
where
that
TV
part of it.
sat there and said,
But the schedule
we'd
release
rather have the Titans
process
on,
as a whole,
because they don't say that very
you
often.
hear a lot of people what you just said, Jared. Just show me the
is
schedule.
your phone number.
I don't care about anything else. We don't need discussion about it.
We'll get to your phones
Just
on
show
this.
me
I know
the
you got a lot of
schedule.
them that you want to
But
weigh in
yet,
on. We're live
Sports Talk
at the
Radio is going to be
Herman's
filled
Golf
with discussion
Club,
of the
where
schedule
we've got the
for the next
Music
week and a
City
half.
Celebrity
Probably.
Golf Challenge
So
presented
I'm
by
not sure
us
that's exactly
right
what
here at
everyone
ESPN
wants.
102.5.
It's funny. I will never forget
Every Wednesday at 6, we go behind the class with current and former Predators players, along with coaches and broadcasters for Nashville Live.
But that's what Al and I were just talking about last night's game. It was a big game for us.
Presented by New Amsterdam Vodka, Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, and Red Spirits and Wine on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Gary Ashton here. I love hearing people say, don't sell without the intel, because it means they're really embracing our message. Now's a great time to sell your home in Nashville, but you need the intel only the Gary Ashton team can provide. Intel that helps you sell your home without any staging or showings. Intel to find your next home so you can sell your current one while the market's hot. Intel to win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity now. Let everyone else get the same information and compete for the same properties, while you get the intel edge with the Gary Ashton team, the official real estate team for your Tennessee Titans. And if you're looking for a great career, join our team. We added 65 new agents last year, and we want you to join us this year. Remember, don't sell without the intel. And if you're looking for a great career, the Gary Ashton team wants you in 2022. Call 615-301-1650 or visit GaryAshton.com today.
With all the new people moving here recently, we thought it'd be a good idea to explain Genesis Diamonds. If you've lived here a while, you know all this, so bear with us. Genesis Diamonds is not an ordinary jewelry store. It was started decades ago by a major diamond wholesaler based in Tel Aviv. He was the diamond supplier for hundreds of upscale jewelry stores. Then he decided to start selling direct to the public at prices that undercut traditional jewelers in a big way. This no middleman approach caught on fast and disrupted the traditional jewelry business model forever. Today, Genesis Diamonds continues that extraordinary value promise. With the highest quality diamonds, the lowest prices, the strongest guarantees, exceptional service, and a mind-blowing selection of fine diamonds and exclusive designer jewelry. So if you've just moved here from New York or California or wherever, we invite you to discover the secret the locals are well aware of: Genesis Diamonds. Just another great reason you made the move to this extraordinary place we're proud to call home.
Tennessee has never been a stranger to progress, and with all the changes going on, people want an affordable way to protect their families, which is why so many Tennesseans trust us. At Farm Bureau Health Plans, helping people find peace of mind has never gone out of style. Just click fbhp.com, call us, or visit one of our many offices. Farm Bureau Health Plans, protecting Tennesseans since 1947.
If you've been thinking about remodeling your home's kitchen or bath, contact the countertop experts at Smoky Mountain Tops. Willie Donick here, and I'm proud to tell you about my longtime friends. We installed Smoky Mountain Tops surfacing in our kitchen years ago, and it's remained durable and super easy to clean up. Smoky Mountain Tops is proud to offer the new prestigious Vidara Quartz for your kitchen or bath countertops. Check out the stunning new Vidara Quartz shown at Smoky Mountain Top Studio. Contact the pros at Smoky Mountain Tops. Quality, service, and dedication. SmokyMountainTops.com.
ESPN's Turon Davenport breaks down the Titans like no other.
On the field chemistry, I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's just going to be a process.
Catch TD Mondays at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Fridays at 8. Plus, the Talking with TD podcast drops every Wednesday.
When you draft players, it's not just for one season, it's for a career.
Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Gary Bettman. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
You look for Mike maybe on the first day when you know these guys are going to make mistakes. You want to teach them the right way, but know what has to
I mean, who can keep their composure, who can try to be poised, who has some instincts when it's chaotic and be able to fight through some of that. And I think we all saw that in the team period. It might have started out okay and then really just went downhill from there, and with the operation and the cadence and just the quarterback center exchange, that's critical. But not going to make a whole lot of excuses. But when a quarterback meets the center last night and their first opportunity to go out on the field and snap is today, some of those things happen, and we just ask them to try to be able to fight through that and not stand around and not finish the play.
There you go. That was Vrabel at minicamp. Let's go to your phone. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. What do we have?
One texter texts in and says, they don't talk about the Titans because this offseason the Titans actually got worse as a team. Trade away your number one when he has a year left in his contract. How idiotic is that? Every other team makes the player.
I totally disagree with that. The first thing you read in that text.
About the Titans got worse as a team by trading away their number one?
What's the first thing that says?
They don't talk about the Titans because this offseason the Titans got worse?
All they're doing is talking about the Titans. Think about it. Like, Tannehill gets asked a question about Malik Willis. I thought it was a great question, by the way. Tannehill gets asked a question about Malik Willis, says, I think he's great. I hope, we're going to be competing against each other. It's not my job to mentor him, but if you can learn something, that'd be great. The end. National story for an entire week. Malik Willis goes to practice. Yeah, we chopped it up. National story over the weekend. I wake up this morning, Sirius XM, NFL Radio, Solomon Wilcots, Doug Whaley, the old general manager of the Bills, talking about the Titans. Peter King's article. The computers told the NFL to schedule the Jets on Thursday Night Football against the Packers. 92% of the schedules, or Peter King wrote. 92% of it put the Titans out there. And they went ahead and they put the Jets in there, and they went ahead and put the Titans in there. It's the opposite of what the texter says. The texter's just mad. I think he's just mad. He doesn't think the Titans are very good. So he's just mad, saying they don't talk about the Titans because we traded A.J. Brown away, and that was so stupid, and it's like, no, dude, it's the opposite. They talk about the Titans. They talked about that when they traded away A.J. Brown. So the Titans are definitely talked about. So you cannot bring that argument to the table. You may not like the A.J. Brown trade, which it looks like that's where he was going in that text, but you cannot say that they don't talk about the Titans because, as we just spent 10 minutes talking about before, there's two teams that play on Thursday Night Football twice this year. The Cowboys and the Titans. The computer said put the Jets on Thursday night against Green Bay, and they said, no, we owe Amazon a good game at Lambeau. Put the Titans in there. Belichick has a Sunday Night Football game. He has one. And they are totally prepared later in the year to flex out if the Patriots aren't good. They are totally prepared to flex out of that game and stick the Titans and the Chargers in that spot. They are talking about the Titans. They are paying attention to the Titans. I think that, to me, I think that actually you get Aikman and Buck week 2. I was thinking about it. ABC, bigger network. Eagles are the bigger team. Will they put Aikman and Buck on that game as opposed to Titans and Bills? But I think they want those guys on ESPN, and I think they're going to put the college guys on ABC. So Herb Street and Chris Fowler.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think you're going to get Aikman and Buck week 2, and so they are talking about the Titans. That you cannot play the disrespect card after the schedule came out. What's next?
Another texter checks in and says, look at the Titans offense without A.J. Brown and Julio Jones last season. It was pathetic.
And what's his point?
I'm guessing maybe the point is the Titans aren't better because without A.J. Brown, and Julio Jones last year, texter thinks the Titans' offense was pathetic, which I have to disagree with. Well, I don't think Julio Jones did much of anything to contribute to that offense last season.
Well, but they replaced them. It's not like if Philip Forsberg signs a free agent contract somewhere else, or like how the Predators traded away Arvidsson and Ellis, they didn't get anything in return. They just dumped their salaries.
You don't fill those holes.
So those holes don't. Yeah, those holes, they're just there. They're just spots. And so you don't replace them. The Titans, when they traded AJ, because they didn't want to put themselves into a corner where they didn't have a choice with AJ, the Titans got the AJ replacement in the trade for AJ. The Titans got Robert Woods, and I get it. A lot of us don't watch the Rams. I know they won the Super Bowl, but we really don't watch the Rams. The Rams are, for years, were Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. And in whatever order you want to put it. And then Robert Woods got hurt, and then Cooper Kupp won the Triple Crown. But before that, it was Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. He tore his ACL. ACLs happen all the time. People come back from ACLs all the time. It happens. So I think Woods is an upgrade over Jones. I think Burks is obviously a downgrade over Brown, but probably going to be more healthy if he stays in shape or gets in shape. And then the Titans actually have a starting tight end in the NFL, which last year they didn't have a tight end in the NFL. Now, if you want to complain about the offensive line, or you're worried about Derrick Henry declining because of the age and the injury, that we can talk about.
That I don't think is something that anyone is talking about enough. It's never been anything you have to worry about is Derrick Henry's production, because Derrick Henry has been the staple, he's been the anchor, he's been the rock. But he can't be that forever. He's not going to be that forever.
Well, I think the bigger thing, too, is that he was terrible in the playoffs. And, again, there are reasons why he was terrible in the playoffs, but he was terrible in the playoffs. What's next?
Another texter checks in and says, how much do you place on Trayland Burks not doing an interview after rookie minicamp?
Well, I mean, if you're too hurt to finish practice, you usually don't speak to the press. Normally when there's an injury, like last year, we'll use the Colts game as an example.
Uh-huh.
They played on the road at Indianapolis, and the media, after it was over, these teams, they like to get out of there pretty quickly. So they basically tell the guys, hey, and these guys take like 30-second showers. I mean, it's kind of gross, but it's also kind of like, how long do you really need to be in there for? So these guys take like 35-second showers, and then they get up there, and they are interviewing, and they are out of there because those coaches, they want to get on the plane, and they want to go home. So last year, they play the Colts. And Vrabel gets up there and does his press conference, and then they waited, and they waited, and they waited, and they waited, and then Tannehill came out. And he had a press conference, and he was kind of hurt, but he didn't say anything about it. And they were waiting for Derek because Derek always had a press conference after the games, and then they were just told no press conference for Derek. And then it came out the next morning that Derek had fractured the Jones, had the Jones fracture.
Uh-huh.
And so when you get hurt or you can't finish practice, you usually don't have a press conference afterwards. So to me, that's what I chalk Trayland Burks not talking up to. I don't think it's like an attitude problem or anything if that was what the texter was getting at.
Maybe so. I just read what the text say. Another texter texts in and says, is it about the Titans or is it more so about Green Bay for the Thursday night game?
I mean, if it was about Green Bay, then they would have had the Jets there. So clearly it's about Green Bay. But more importantly, like they don't put, I'm trying to think of like the most famous team on Sunday Night Football. They do not put the Cowboys against the Jaguars on Sunday Night Football.
No.
Like, so I know that there's a whole, like, of course the Green Bay is the number one reason or the factor. Like, that's why. But the fact that the computers, according to Peter King, according to a league source, that the computer set put the Jets on there and they chose not to put the Jets on there and they chose to put the Titans on there, I think is a feather in the Titans' cap. That, I think, is a legitimate sign of respect. Now, of course it's about Green Bay, but they didn't want to put a crap team on with Green Bay. And that's why you got in there, because they don't think you're a crap team. That's why they lined you up for the Chargers the same week of that Patriots-Raiders game. I think you can make you can make an argument that the Titans aren't going to be any good this year. You can make an argument that the Chargers aren't going to be any good this year. My gut tells me both teams are probably going to be okay. You can make an argument that the Raiders aren't going to be good this year. I think they might be okay. And the Patriots, you can make an argument there. Well, what are the chances that one of those four teams is not very good come December?
Probably pretty high.
Okay, well, if one of those teams is New England or the Raiders, they can flex out of that game and put the Titans and the Chargers in there. It is made perfectly for them to do that. So if you're somebody that wants to say the Titans don't get enough respect, you can't say it with this, because I think the Titans are getting enough respect. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. I have a Grizzlies take, and I feel very strongly about my Grizzlies take, and a lot of Grizzlies fans are, anytime I bring this up, they get very defensive, and I don't know why. So I brought some evidence with me to go along. We'll do that coming up next. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025 here on the program. Nashville's best deal of the week is Bavarian Beer House at Opry Mills. Bavarian Beer House is Nashville's only authentic German beer hall. It is a place full of fun, music, and most importantly, beer. Head to theGameNashville.com/deals now to get a $50 gift card for only $25 to Bavarian Beer House while supplies last.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
they're still in good shape to make the playoffs,
and I-840,
players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
There's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams.
This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have two choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
Power buys are back at Northern Tool and Equipment. Save on top tools like $40 off their Clutch 189-piece mechanics tool set or $170 off their Ironton 12,000-pound electric winch.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Sunny, a little bit less humid, and cooler this afternoon. Highs upper 70s and lower 80s, but we make another run at the 90s in the second half of the week.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
I can walk again. I can cross my legs again. I can wear heels again.
After years of living with chronic joint pain, Andrea Southard is now living a normal life, pain-free, thanks to natural biologic treatments at QC Kinetics.
We tried everything, and my husband had heard the commercial for QC Kinetics on the radio, and he told me to call him and check it out.
That phone call changed Andrea's life. QC Kinetics used powerful natural biologics to treat her aching joints. It's high-tech precision medicine that can restore and repair damaged joint tissue with no surgery and no drugs, providing lasting relief.
I felt like I was in my 20s again. I could tie my own shoes. Really the little things that you don't think about.
Pain in your hips, knees, back, shoulders? Get rid of the pain now. Call QC Kinetics.
615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024.
Folds of Honor provides educational scholarships to the families of military men and women who have fallen or been disabled while on active duty in the United States Armed Forces. Since 2007, Folds of Honor has awarded nearly 29,000 educational scholarships. Help families of soldiers who gave the ultimate sacrifice. Join the Game Nashville for a day of online and on-air giving today. Text keyword DONATE to 615-737-1025.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required. Refund available for 60 days after purchase.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/joy. You'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. Results are guaranteed or your money back. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/joy. That's 4hims.com/joy for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/JOY.
This is Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving.
Curry leaves it short. Another offensive rebound. Why not? Thompson back to Curry. Curry a three. He got it. Mark it. Time of death. 9:34 Pacific Standard Time.
The Splash Brothers have returned, and with that, the Grizzlies put up a valiant fight, but they were sent back home. And I will say this, I did not watch a lot of regular season Grizzlies games, and guess what? Next year, I probably won't watch a lot of regular season Grizzlies games next year either. But I do have this take because I did watch them in the playoffs, and I did watch them, I guess, enough in the regular season to have an opinion. And so it's obvious to me that they have got to get John Morant some help. So John Morant got hurt. I know. They blew him out in Game 5. I know. They played tough in Games 4 and 6. I know. But we have to remember that this is the NBA. Unless you just absolutely choke a game away a la Phoenix yesterday, chances are the game's going to be close no matter what. And the NBA is the league where it can be like 57-0, and the other team can come back and tie the game. And so almost winning is not good enough. Now, I don't think people are mad at the Grizzlies for not winning, but again, you've got the guy. And this is one of those sports where it's really hard to get the guy. And then when you get the guy, you have to surround him with talent. And so all these Grizzly fans, every time I say this, all these Grizzly fans are like, Jared, that's so disrespectful to Desmond Bane and Dylan Brooks and Jaren Jackson and those guys. They're good enough. You didn't watch. They were 20-5 this season without John Morant. And they were 1-2 against the eventual NBA champions. You think you're better off without John Morant? That doesn't make a lot of sense. But it does tell me that they're close. So they just have to find John Morant a number 2 player. And then all the other guys who are replaceable, Bane and Brooks and Jackson and Steven Adams and all those guys, they're all replaceable.
You'll have to replace some of them as they get older or more expensive. But again, they're replaceable. It'll be okay. And every time I say this, Grizzly fans get so mad, and I honestly don't know why. And so I was on Sirius XM on Saturday night. Memphis had just gotten knocked out on Friday. Vince Goodwill, NBA Radio, also writes for Yahoo Sports. He was on my show on Saturday, and I asked him, because I knew I'd be talking to you all, I asked him, does Memphis need to get help for Ja Morant, or should they just run it back with Brooks and Bain and Jackson and hope to win the championship? Here's what Vince Goodwill said.
I mean, it's easy to say. It's very easy to say. Run it back, natural osmosis, everything else. You got to figure out if Dillon Brooks is a player you can trust. I think Desmond Bain is the real deal, but I think you got to find if Dillon Brooks is a player you can trust. And believe it or not, the Western Conference is getting better. The Clippers will be there next year. The Denver Nuggets will be there next year. Who knows what's going to happen with Golden State? But if you just think you're going to grow naturally by osmosis, there were a bunch of teams that Michael Jordan used to crown as the future of the league when the Bulls knocked the team out of the first round, and he'd give them a nice pat on the head and tell, hey, this is the future of the Eastern Conference, and the next year they wouldn't even make the damn playoffs.
So if Memphis runs it back, Vince Goodwill's telling you there's a chance that, hey, the Clippers might pass them, and this one might pass them, and that one might pass them. And it's like I said, I tweeted out about how they got to get Ja another guy, and everybody got all worked up. And I think it was Chase tweeted me and said, you don't think that that's okay? Like, you don't think that what they've got? Or I said, well, Michael and Kobe needed number twos, so I'm going to guess that Ja's going to need a number two too. Like, to sit there and say, well, Ja's fine the way he is. By the way, have you noticed Golden State? They were a dynasty. Then Klay Thompson got hurt. They lost in the 2019 finals. Kevin Durant, who was not there when the dynasty got started, Kevin Durant went away. And they were awful, and then they were awful, and then Klay came back, their number two, and now they're going to go win the finals this year. You got to have the number two. So you can't tell me that Ja doesn't need it when Steph needs it, and Michael needs it, and Kobe needs it. So it's just ridiculous. And so I'm going to ask you if you know these names, Caroline. Do you know the names Charles Oakley, Dave Corzine, or Gene Banks?
No, I do not.
Okay. In 1986, the Chicago Bulls lost 3-0 in the playoffs to the Boston Celtics, and the Celtics had Larry Bird and Kevin McHale and Danny Ainge and, that Celtic team that was very, very good. And they lost 3-0. Michael had 35 a game in that series. The year before, Michael dropped 65 in a playoff game. Michael, at that point, was a 3-time All-Star, and he had just won the scoring title in the NBA. So everything you think about Ja Morant right now was being said then about Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan just didn't have good enough teammates to go around. The starting five of the Celtics that year, or of the Bulls that year, was Jordan, Oakley, Corzine, Gene Banks, and John Paxson. Only John Paxson was on the team in 1991 when they won their first title. You know what they did that offseason? They traded with Seattle and they drafted Scottie Pippen in the first round. They drafted Horace Grant in the first round. That's what Memphis has to do. They have to find a way to take their star, who they know is a top 5 player probably in the game, and they've got to get him a Scottie Pippen. They've got to do what the Lakers did after 3 years when they got Shaquille O'Neal in Los Angeles with Kobe. Like, they've got to do something like that, or else this is going to keep happening to Memphis every year. So we know Ja's the dude. We know they've got a decent coach, I think. We know that they've got a solid supporting cast, but just know the supporting cast is always going to change. The one constant in the Bulls championships over that 8-year period was Jordan and Pippen. Everybody else came and went. Golden State, Steph, Klay, and Draymond. Everybody else can come and go. Kevon Looney or Andrew Bogut or Zaza Pachulia or all these other guys, Andre Iguodala, Leandro Barbosa, Jordan Poole, they're all replaceable. Just like Kukoc and Rodman and Grant and Steve Kerr and this one and that. They're all replaceable except Ja. And the guy they got to get to go with Ja. So I know Grizzly fans are going to be mad, but that's my biggest takeaway is the Grizzlies have a chance, and they play hard, and they're hungry, and they're a good team, but so is Jordan's team. And you got to get him the second guy.
And I think my thing, too, that it frustrates me, the argument, people, talking in favor of the Grizzlies is, well, it's a young team. It's one of the youngest teams in the league, if not the youngest team in the league. They don't have a single player over the age of 30. So they'll have to grow into it. They're just young players. But I don't think that's a good enough excuse, I don't necessarily want to say, or good enough explanation to the end of the Grizzly season. I mean, that's a really talented team. They were in the playoffs. But just because a player's 22, 23 years old doesn't mean that he should already have reached his full potential. John Morant is, 21? 22?
Something like that.
So he's young. He is so young, and he is lighting it up in the league. He's one of the most fun players to watch in the league this year. So saying that a young team is an excuse for not being able to go further than they did, I don't think is fair.
Well, here's the thing about young teams in the league, because everybody looks at young teams and this team will be back, and that's what they said about the Pacers last decade led by Paul George. That team took LeBron and the Heat to a Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Final, and everybody said they'll be back, and they never were. And that's what people said about Orlando with Shaq and Penny Hardaway. In the 90s, Orlando was the next team. And then Penny Hardaway got hurt, and Shaq got traded to Los Angeles, and they were never back. And so this happens. The Bengals, I think, are an example of a team that I would say, hey, we think they might be back, but they also might not. Dan Marino made the Super Bowl the second year, never went back. And so this is the one thing that I caution you on is the idea, and that's why I asked Vince Goodwill, hey, do you run it back or do you not? He's like, you can't just run it back. You can't just say, okay, let's get it rocking and rolling and go from there. You can't just do that. And I think they've got to, however Jerry Krause worked it. Think about all these great teams and think about their general managers. Jerry West worked the deal for Shaquille O'Neal. Jerry West is a Hall of Fame executive. Jerry Krause is a Hall of Fame executive. And the maneuvering that he did with a playoff team to get in the lottery and get Scottie Pippen, the way he did it, they loved Pippen. They were obsessed with Pippen. And they knew that he was going to be pretty good. I'm not sure they knew he'd be this good, but they knew he'd be really good. Well, if they don't make that move, they don't win those championships. Michael Jordan even said it. You can't talk Michael Jordan without talking Scottie Pippen. And that's what John Morant needs. If Michael needs a guy like that, if Kobe needs a guy like that, R.C. Buford and Greg Popovich in San Antonio, they got beat by Memphis in the first round in 2011. And that was like the Grind City, Tony Allen, Memphis Grizzlies. And they got beat by Memphis in 2011. What'd they do? They took George Hill, a young guard on their team who had some promise, and they flipped him for the 15th overall pick, and they drafted Kawhi Leonard. And 2 years later, they win the NBA championship. They beat LeBron, and Kawhi Leonard is the MVP of the finals. And you can't say, well, you have to be bad in order to get the good players. Didn't stop Greg Popovich and R.C. Buford in San Antonio. Didn't stop Jerry Krause. Those are playoff teams, and they went and got Kawhi Leonard and Scottie Pippen, and that's what Memphis has to do. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Drew Brees is hinting that he may come out of retirement. 1, do we buy it? 2, is he any good? And 3, is there a playoff team that could use a quarterback that just doesn't throw 3 interceptions in the playoffs? We'll discuss next. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Attention all foremen with 3 years experience. Harness LLC is your local excavation and site utilities company. We're growing and we need 5 foremen to grow with us. This is Ray Jeter with Harness LLC. Invest in a company who's going to invest in you. Go to selectharness.com to apply today. The 5 foremen we hire will receive 100% paid health coverage, vacation, and up to $6,000 sign-on bonus. Go to selectharness.com and apply today. Harness LLC. Build people, move dirt.
The Gallatin Hotel is a vibrant and charming boutique hotel tucked into East Nashville and was voted the #1 boutique hotel in East Nashville by TripAdvisor. Not only is the Gallatin unique by design, but they also give away the majority of their profits to those who need it most and provides beds, food, and supplies to Nashville's underserved communities and those experiencing homelessness. Just one more reason to love your stay at the Gallatin. Visit thegallatinhotel.com to book your stay now. The Gallatin Hotel. It's good vibes only.
Erectile dysfunction ruins sex, but it's more than that. It harms otherwise good relationships. It destroys marriages. It can cause depression and anxiety, and it can be extremely hard on a man's self-esteem. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and if you're suffering with ED, if it's affecting you, I want you to know that if you're like most men, we can treat it and get you back to the man you used to be. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we're ED experts. Our protocols have success rates as high as 90%. We've successfully treated thousands of men in the Music City, and we have a variety of treatment options and treatment combinations that could have you performing like you haven't in years. You could even last up to an hour and experience great sex again that is satisfying for both you and your partner. In treating your health, expertise matters, so make an appointment today. Your initial appointment is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
O'Reilly. If your vehicle squeals or grinds when you slow down or just isn't stopping like it used to, you may need new brake rotors and pads. Now through May 24th at O'Reilly Auto Parts, get 15% off a set of Brake Best Select or Import Direct brake pads and 2 rotors. Restore safe braking and save money now at O'Reilly Auto Parts or order online at O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Today we are benefiting Folds of Honor all day with the Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament.
Text DONATE to 615-737-1025 to benefit Folds of Honor, Tennessee.
ESPN 1025 and 1063 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury. He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company featuring Caroline Fenton is live today at the Music City Golf Challenge, Celebrity Golf Challenge, here at the Hermitage Golf Course, benefiting Folds of Honor. You can text DONATE to 615-737-1025 and join the over $7,000 that we've already raised for our veterans via Folds of Honor. Out here today, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live, thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. So, last night, I was minding my own business, watching basketball and hockey, and out of nowhere, I saw Drew Brees decided to counter an Andrew Marchand report. Now, Andrew Marchand works for the New York Post. He used to cover the Yankees, but he covers sports media for the New York Post. And Andrew Marchand is very dialed in. He's like the only guy who really does this or tries to do it very well. So he's got all the gossip. And he wrote an article yesterday that Drew Brees, after one season, is out at Sunday Night Football with NBC. Brees wants to call games. NBC doesn't think he's very good at it. They want him in the studio. Chris Collinsworth isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So Brees would like to go somewhere else. And that came out, I think, maybe mid-morning yesterday. Drew Brees on Twitter last night, quote, "Despite speculation from media about my future this fall, I'm currently undecided. I may work for NBC. I may play football again. I may focus on business and philanthropy. I may train for the pickleball tour, senior golf tour, coach my kids, or all the above. I'll let you know." And that immediately sent people into, oh my God, is Drew Brees coming back to football? Now, I've been one many a times to take something like that may be said in jest. Dennis Allen, the head coach of the Saints, had a press conference today. I guess the Saints had their Celebrity Golf Challenge today. And he said that, he thinks Brees was kidding. Maybe. But I don't know that Brees was kidding. And I'll say this. I remember when I reported that Aaron Rodgers was buying a house here and was open to joining the Titans, and I got mocked endlessly by the local media. And then a couple months later, Adam Schefter put out a report and said, oh, yeah, the Titans were trying to get in on Aaron Rodgers, and they picked up the phone and called on Deshaun Watson. Now, I don't believe that, but that's what Adam Schefter reported. And once Adam Schefter reported it, all of a sudden other people were talking about it. And it's like almost of an eye roll of, I tried to tell you guys, and you guys thought you were too smart for it. So I watched ESPN today, and Dan Graziano was like, I think he was kidding. I don't think it was all that serious. I don't this. I'm like, you think that, but if you didn't talk to Drew, then you don't know. And all I know is this. If Drew Brees wants to come back, his coach is not there anymore, Sean Payton.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he'd be open to going to another team. And I don't know how good he was when he last played. People on TV say he's not very good, but I know that I want to say they had the bye. I think that's right. They were, hosting the divisional round playoff game against the Buccaneers where they lost for his last game. And so, he was good enough to have them there, and I know that the Saints don't turn around and run the ball. Even though they've got Kamara, they don't run it like Derrick Henry runs the ball. Drew Brees is a vital part of what that team did.
Kamara is a much more of a pass-catching running back than Derrick Henry is.
That team didn't have Drew Brees this past year, and they freaking sucked. And so, I got to be honest with you. I'd be keeping my eyes open. Now, here's what Doug Whaley said. Doug Whaley's the old general manager of the Buffalo Bills. He was there before the current administration got there. So they were the guys that were screwing everything up. And then they brought in, McDermott and Bean, and they've taken the Bills up to being Super Bowl favorites. Here's what Doug Whaley said, though, about Drew Brees returning to the NFL earlier today on SiriusXM NFL Radio.
I hope he doesn't get back to playing football. Because he was never a physically gifted quarterback. And if you saw his last season and his play, it was really a struggle for him to throw the ball down the field over 10 or close to 15 yards. It was almost painful. So for him to step back on the field, I'm imploring him to really not consider that option, because I don't want to have that legacy tarnished. I don't want to see him come out there and where everybody's like, who is this guy? And then put a coach in position to have to bench him. So for me, I think it's more of him putting his cards out there and telling the world I'm open for anything and everything. Come at me. Let me see what I got and what I can offer you and what the biggest offer is for my next move in my life. But again, I hope it's not on the football field.
Okay. So here's the questions. 1, can Brees still play? 2, would Brees want to play here? 3, would Brees be an upgrade on Tannehill where you can wait until June 1st, make your move on Tannehill or whatever, and bring in Drew Brees, and then Drew Brees would have to learn a new offense? But I know this. I know Drew Brees wouldn't throw 3 interceptions against the Bengals in the playoffs. I know that. Your thoughts? I did jokingly tweet out that we would take people's calls tomorrow on Brees or Tannehill. I'm not necessarily doing that, but I will say he said it. I don't know if he's kidding or not, but he said it. What's your thoughts?
I just have a really hard time believing he would come back to football. That last season, he got bumped and bruises, and his entire body was broken. He played with broken ribs and a broken hand, so on and so forth. I think that he stepped away in a very peaceful way. He had done what he needed to do. He won a Super Bowl in New Orleans. Sean Payton was on his way out. I don't see him making a return to football. That's my opinion.
Was his body more bumped and bruised than Rob Gronkowski's when he retired for a year?
But Rob Gronkowski's also much younger than Drew Brees is.
Rob Gronkowski plays a lot more physically than Drew Brees does.
Yes,
and a much more demanding physical position. I guess my thing is maybe Brees didn't like it. Brees wouldn't be the first guy that got out of football, did something else, didn't like it, and said, back to football. Dean Pease was an old pop when he was defensive coordinator here. They get to the AFC Championship game. He retires the next day after the championship game, spends a year out of it. I remember one time when the Titans' defense was so bad, and we were talking about Dean Pease, and Floyd goes, I talked to Dean today. And I was like, oh, yeah, what'd you talk about? Returning to the Titans? He's like, no. And without assuming, this is totally assuming. I assume that Dean talked to him about whether or not he should go back into the NFL because Floyd was retired. And so it's like, what do you think? Should I stay retired? Should I get back in the game? What do you think I should do? And obviously Dean, first chance he got with Arthur Smith, jumped right back in the game. For a lot of these guys, this is a way of life. And I don't know if Brees is unhappy that it got leaked, that he's leaving NBC. I don't know if this is Brees trying to create leverage so that if Fox offers him the number 2 booth, because they're probably not going to put him on the number 1 booth because he sucked so bad in that playoff game. that it's like, well, I do have other options. I could go play football. I don't know if Breeze would consider coming back. The one thing I don't know is, was Breeze as bad as they're making him out to be that last year?
No.
Like
I didn't
where Doug
think so.
Whaley is like, it pained me to watch him throw the ball 10 yards down the field.
I think that's very dramatic. I mean, when you look at the Saints, they did beat the Bucs twice when they played twice in the regular season. Of course, they lost in that playoff game. But I think the Saints had a fine season. Of course, Drew Brees in 2020 wasn't Drew Brees of 2009, 2010, 2011, but it was still a pretty solid football team. But
was he better or worse than Peyton on the Broncos when they won the Super Bowl?
I think better. I think he was much more mobile than Peyton Manning was. That, like, the year that they won the Super Bowl, it almost pained me to watch Peyton Manning. You know, he couldn't move. He just sat back in the pocket and threw the ball downfield, and that's what he does best. I would say Drew Brees was much more mobile than Peyton Manning was. But, I mean, and also to go back to your question, let's operate under the conditions that he is seriously considering coming back. I don't know if he would be open to joining another team. Because if he did come back, how long would he play? I mean, he's, 43 years old?
Yeah.
So how long would he really play? I mean, I know we look at Tom Brady like he is ageless, but that's also Tom Brady. He is the exception and not the rule. So if Drew Brees would want to come back, would he want to go to another team, learn a new offense, learn a new system?
But doesn't he have to learn
start
a new
from
offense
scratch?
anyway? Because Sean Payton's not there. I know they elevated the offensive coordinator, Pete Carmichael, or shouldn't say elevated, but he obviously has, he's in charge of the offense now, whereas before Sean
Payton was the offensive coordinator and the head coach. I don't know what the offense is going to look like under this new coaching regime, but I can't imagine it would be too incredibly different.
I don't know. It should be noted that somebody let me know that apparently in Breeze's last playoff game against Tampa Bay, he threw for 134 yards and 3 picks versus Tampa.
So, yeah.
So as I sit here and celebrate the fact that he wouldn't throw 3 picks against the Bengals, I should be well aware of the fact that it is completely possible that Drew Brees throws 3 interceptions in a playoff game and it cost the Titans.
He did also miss several games that year and played with broken ribs. So, I mean, interpret that how you would like.
Year off. Gronk missed games. Took a year off. Gronk came back. Gronk won the Super Bowl.
At 43 years old, I think it's a lot more difficult to come back.
It's quarterback. And I have a thought on that. That you're referring to that I want to get to next. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. And your thoughts on the latest Drew Brees drama and gossip. 615-737-1025, Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 1025 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 5, join us for Jared versus Joe as they debate all of the big topics in sports, presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment and Mayweather Boxing and Fitness on ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Staples stores are a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
Gary Ashton here. I love hearing people say, don't sell without the intel, because it means they're really embracing our message. Now's a great time to sell your home in Nashville, but you need the intel only the Gary Ashton team can provide. Intel that helps you sell your home without any staging or showings. Intel to find your next home so you can sell your current one while the market's hot. Intel to win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity now. Let everyone else get the same information and compete for the same properties, while you get the intel edge with the Gary Ashton team, the official real estate team for your Tennessee Titans. And if you're looking for a great career, join our team. We added 65 new agents last year, and we want you to join us this year. Remember, don't sell without the intel. And if you're looking for a great career, the Gary Ashton team wants you in 2022. Call 615-301-1650 or visit GaryAshton.com today.
Trying to find a new home right now is next to impossible. Very little inventory, prices are crazy high, rates are moving up. Here's a better idea. Let my friends at Loan Pronto refinance your current home, turn all that equity you have into cash, and totally transform your house. A new kitchen, new bathroom, a pool. Think about it. Your home value is up. Instead of wasting all that on an overpriced new house, convert that equity into cash for a home makeover. One local couple did it and got $200,000 out. They added new hardwoods, an outdoor living space, a swimming pool with spa and all new cabinets and appliances, plus a home office. Now they have their dream home, and they never had to move. Call Loan Pronto. Ask about their home improvement refi. Give your home a total makeover and do it now. You can even skip your next house payment in the process. Call now, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender. NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval.
Hey, y'all, it's Caroline Fenton, and I want to tell you about my friends over at 312 Pizza Company. 312 Pizza is my favorite place in town. It's family-owned and operated, bringing you a slice of Chicago to Nashville. 312 Pizza Company specializes in deep dish pizza, thin crust pizza, and all things Chicago style, always made from scratch using secret family recipes passed down generation to generation. 312 Pizza is open every day except for Tuesday and is located in Germantown with dine-in, takeout, and curbside available. Call 615-730-7888 or head to 312pizzaco.com to order. 312 Pizza Company, Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria.
Looking for a career with purpose or have that passion for youth development? Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee provides a safe place where youth gain the tools to learn, lead, and reach their full potential. And that starts with you, offering competitive pay and free after-school care for employees. Learn more at bgcmt.org.
If you've missed any of today's show, just search Stillman and Company on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
How much pressure is on Ryan Tannehill this season?
Well, I'll say this. No matter what you say, that offense still's running through Derrick Henry. So
there you go.
The pressure is on Tannehill. To me, it's don't make the fatal mistake. Do not throw the pick or the picks like he did in that playoff game. The offense isn't going to be on your shoulders. It's on Derrick Henry's shoulder. We just need you to, and I hate to say it, and people will say it, think it's a bad thing, but to manage the game.
That was Doug Whaley, former general manager on SiriusXM NFL Radio this morning. I know, Doug, that's all we asked Ryan Tannehill to do last year, and that's why the Titans got sent packing. You know what's so funny? Everybody loves to say, well, Jared, you said, or Jared this, or Jared. Do you remember after the Dolphins game when it looked like the Titans were going to get the number one seed? And I literally said at 2 o'clock on Monday after the Dolphins game, I said, you are 3 games, because it was Texans, then division, championship. If Ryan Tannehill, because he wasn't flawless in that Dolphins game, but he came nowhere near turning the football over. I said, if you can get 3 games where he doesn't turn the football over, you're going to the Super Bowl. And I believe that. Like, still to this day, that after that Dolphins game, I said, if you get 3 games where he doesn't turn the ball over, you're going to the Super Bowl. And then after seeing how it played out, I am convinced that I was right.
Well, I mean, Bengals won by 3. You don't turn the ball over.
6.
Yeah, you don't turn the ball over, you win that game.
Unbelievable. Now, Drew Brees did throw 3 picks in his last game against Tampa. But there's one thing I struggle with as far as the Drew Brees-Tannehill thing is concerned, right? What is your biggest qualm? Let's say Drew Brees doesn't want to do broadcasting and he thinks he can play another year in football. And he saw Brady last year lead the league in passing and said, I can go play ball. And Brees gets out and gets into it. What was your number one concern in the last segment?
He's old.
Okay. That is everything that we heard that talked all of us out of Tom Brady and into Ryan Tannehill 2 years ago. And I am convinced that if the Titans had been dead set on Brady over Tannehill, which this coach and this general manager should have had the foresight to see that he would still be productive at 45 years old because they know him better than anybody else. If the Titans had had the foresight to know that Brady was still going to be good, let's just say that they were dead set on Brady. And that they were like, you know what? If Ryan signs with the Raiders or Ryan signs with the Buccaneers or Ryan signs, then we'll be fine signing Andy Dalton to quarterback the Titans and we'll get fired because of it. But that's how much we believe in Brady over Tannehill. And had they signed Brady, which I think they would have, I think they'd have one of the last 2 Super Bowls. Either the one that Brady won or Brady on last year's team. One of those 2 would have won the Super Bowl. And so I'm not saying that Brady and Brees are the same person, but I am saying that I got talked out of Brady because of the age, and now the biggest knock on Brees would be the age.
But I think with Tom Brady, there are two things that people always use as extremists with Tom Brady. It's the age. If he can do it at 44, anyone can. And, well, Tom Brady was taken in the 6th round, so you never know what your 6th-round pick can become. You never know what these quarterbacks taken in the 5th, 6th, 7th rounds can be. And I think those two instances that people use with Tom Brady frustrate me because it is so much so the exception and not the rule.
Yeah, but
everything
Drew
about
Brees'
Tom Brady
career
is
the exception.
What do you mean?
Drew Brees is small.
Yeah?
Drew Brees got dumped by his first team.
Uh-huh.
You know, normally you get dumped by your first team, and like Tannehill, it's like, well, you know, they're no good. Brees got injured and came back. Like, I mean, severely injured. That shoulder, remember, Nick Saban wanted to sign Drew Brees in Miami. Now, I don't know if Nick actually wanted to sign him or if this is Nick's excuse for not signing him, but supposedly the medical people would not sign off on Drew Brees' shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
So he came back from that. I mean, Brees is very much an exception. And at 41 or whatever the last time he played was, Brees actually finished ahead of Brady and beat him 2 out of 3 times that year. So I would agree that in general it's the exception, and guys that are old look like Big Ben last year. But Drew Brees is the exception. Like, Drew Brees
we don't know about that.
I'm talking about as a player to say, like, oh, well, Brady's the exception, not the rule. I would agree. But a lot of Brees' career is the exception, not the rule, too.
Another thing with it, though, is Brady's upkeeping of himself. He never stopped playing football. He never stepped away for a year and tried to come back. I don't know Drew Brees' workout routine or his eating routine, but how can you say that at 43 years old, after being out of the league for a year, he can come back and be in NFL shape?
See, that doesn't bother me.
Why?
Because if a guy had torn an ACL and didn't play football for a year, that would be harder for him to stay in shape than it would be if he just went to go do TV for a year. I mean, Michael Vick went to jail for like 2 years.
If you tear your ACL and you're playing in the league, then you're probably, 25 years old?
But I'm saying, though, is like that's more of a year off to me than Drew Brees just going to NBC. You know, to me, that's like Gronk taking a year off and kind of resting the body and not putting it through, you know, all the pain and everything else. Plus, it's quarterback. You know, it's not like it's offensive line. So it's not like Brees has to be in absolute tip-top shape, and I think Brees can get himself into shape. And on top of it, like, you know, I look at Drew Brees and I think to myself, like, I don't expect Drew Brees to sit on the couch and eat a bunch of marshmallows. Like, I don't think it would be hard for Drew Brees to get himself to be in the same shape that he was in when he retired from football. And I'm just saying, you know, what I said when they lost the game to the Bengals was I was ready to move on to Tannehill, and I still am. So anytime one of these names comes up, I'm just analyzing it as, is it better than Tannehill? Because I don't think you can win the Super Bowl with Tannehill. Do I think you can win the Super Bowl with Brees? Probably not. Do I think Brees is going to come out of retirement? Probably not. Do I expect Drew Brees to pick up where he left off or that he wasn't declining? I didn't watch enough of Drew Brees to know that one way or another. But I know you can't win the Super Bowl with Tannehill. At least that is the hypothesis that I am operating under.
I think it'd be an upgrade, and I don't think that there is anyone in this city who would want Drew Brees to be a Titan more than me. Maybe Elijah. But I just don't see it being feasible.
Oh, I love Drew Brees. What do we have in your text? 615-737-1025. Phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Raymond texts in and says, don't even think about it. Brees would get crippled for life as non-mobile as he is behind our questionable O-line.
So I don't think you guys understand this about quarterbacks. The ball comes out quickly with those guys. The Breeses, the Bradys, the Mannings, they don't like to be hit, so they don't hold on to the ball. You know who holds on to the ball a lot? Tannehill. Like, Andrew Luck used to hold on to the ball a lot. Like, the guy who's willing to sacrifice his body for the team holds on to the ball. That's Tannehill. That's not Tom Brady or Drew Brees. Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, those guys are like, on to the next play. Because they kind of understand the big picture of it, right? Like, Brady knows if I get hurt, we're done. So, no holding on to the ball. Like, that ball's out. Because if I get hurt, A, I'm done, and B, we're done. And Brees and Rivers and Manning, those guys don't like to get hurt. Tannehill is like, let me see if I can show the team how much I'm willing to pay the price by sticking my throwing shoulder exposed into the end zone in a game where we're already up 2 touchdowns on the Lions, so a guy can dive with his helmet right at my throwing shoulder. That's not smart. Mm-hmm. And so the idea of, the offensive line, look, Tampa's got an okay offensive line, and I think some of those guys are kind of elevated by Brady. But what matters to Brady are the tackles and the center. The other 2 guys, they're whoever. Guards. Marpet retired. The other one went to the Bengals. And Brady didn't say, oh, no, I'm not playing behind Aaron Stinney, who got cut from the Titans. I'm not playing behind him. No, Brady's like, no, I'm fine. Just get rid of the coach. I'm good. And that's exactly what they did. What's next?
Chip from Mount Juliet texts in and says, I don't think Drew Brees would be an upgrade. His better years are behind him.
So that's the bigger question. Before we get to anything, we almost have to reverse engineer this, right? Because everybody's going to tell us that Drew Brees is not coming out of retirement. That's going to be the first thing everybody tells us. And you know what? They might be right. But that doesn't matter for our discussion point, at the end. The second thing is, would Drew Brees want to come here? So if Drew Brees decides that he wants to unretire and he says, I want to play one more season, well, naturally, I would think he would go back to the Saints. I don't think the Saints are very good. And because of that, I could see him saying, I'd rather go somewhere else that's probably closer to winning a Super Bowl. And that could be here. So then the third thing would be, okay, then is he an upgrade over Tannehill? Well, if he's not an upgrade over Tannehill, then there is no point in having the discussion about Drew Brees whatsoever, because even if Drew Brees came to you and said, hey, I'm interested in coming back, even if Drew Brees came to you, I think at the end of the day, if you said Tannehill's our guy and we think Tannehill's better than Brees, then you wouldn't be interested in it. I mean, they asked Robinson and Vrabel during the COVID shutdowns about why Tannehill over Brady, or did you give any thought to Brady, or was there any? And every time John Robinson said, well, I mean, we signed Ryan Tannehill. No interest in talking about Tom Brady. We signed Ryan Tannehill. And so if you think Ryan Tannehill's better than Tom Brady, then that's the decision that you make. If you think Ryan Tannehill's better than Drew Brees, then there's no point in having these conversations. So that, I think, is the real question, is if on Fairy Tale Island, which we don't spend a lot of time on, but this is hypothesizing. This isn't about something that did happen. It's about whether or not something will happen. If on Fairy Tale Island you think that Drew Brees is not an upgrade over Ryan Tannehill, then there's no point even being here.
No.
Even if you think Brees is coming back, even if you think Brees would be willing to play for not the Saints. Back to your phones. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. And there is one thing about the Titans that I am convinced of. I just think they make it abundantly clear on. We'll get to that coming up next. Here on Stillman & Company, FanDuel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app. I love the FanDuel Sportsbook app. The NBA playoffs are heating up, and you can make every game feel like Game 7 on FanDuel Sportsbook, an official partner of the NBA. Throughout the playoffs, all customers can place a no-sweat same-game parlay each week, and you'll get up to $20 in free bets if you do not win. FanDuel has so many ways to play, and best of all, when you do win, you'll get paid faster than a fast break. New to FanDuel, just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up with the promo code JGM to get your first bet risk-free up to $1,000. Again, that's promo code JGM. And if you already have an account, you're all set to bet, no sweat. Either way, you'll get $20 in free bets if your same-game parlay during the playoffs doesn't win. FanDuel Sportsbook, an official partner of the NBA. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. Refund issue is non-withdrawable free bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max free bet is $20 per week. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, I'm Matthias Ekholm, and this is Smashville.
Ekholm, his shot, he scores! Matthias Ekholm gets the Predators' third of the night.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
From elegant to contemporary, Social Furniture has it all. And right now, get no interest financing on any purchase through Memorial Day. Save hundreds, even thousands on top brand name bedroom suites, living room and dining sets. Thousands of combinations in stock, ready for immediate delivery. All colors and styles are designer brand names such as Woodhouse, Sealy, Serta, Kincaid, Bernhardt, Stearns & Foster, and Bassett. Shop local, shop social. Social Furniture opens 7 days a week on the west side on Charlotte Avenue in the Richland Creek Shopping Center.
You purchased a fine European automobile because of the amazing drivability and great looks. Then someone slid into you during a rainstorm. European Collision Repair is Nashville's premier location for collision repairs. Their state-of-the-art facility is certified by 30 vehicle manufacturers. The best part is their customer service, and they can provide an estimate simply by you sending in a photo of your damage. If you have a fine European automobile, have the repairs done at European Collision Repair. Go to EuropeanCollisionRepair.com.
Empire Auto Parts has opened a brand new location in Nashville, Tennessee. They're hosting a hiring event with giveaways, sign-on bonuses, and more happening at Holiday Inn Express at the Crossings, 201 Crossings Place, May 16th through 20th from 9 a.m. to noon or 2 to 5. Empire Auto Parts offers hourly pay, full benefits, 401k matching, and more. Current job openings for warehouse associate, delivery drivers, customer service agents, account managers, and dispatchers. Apply now on Indeed at Empire Auto Parts Inc. Jobs or visit their website at EmpireAutoParts.com.
Nashville's best deal of the week is Bavarian Beer House at Opry Mills. Bavarian Beer House, Nashville's only authentic German beer hall, is full of fun, food, music, and most importantly, beer. Enjoy traditional German bratwurst, schnitzel, giant pretzels, and more in an Oktoberfest-inspired space. Visit BeerHouseNashville.com for their live music schedule. Get a $50 gift card for half off right now at TheGameNashville.com/deals while supplies last.
Hey, this is Jordan Rogers, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
A.J. Brown's not walking through that door anymore. Trayland Burks was drafted out of Arkansas to replace the production of A.J. Brown, and it's going to be interesting to see if the Titans, how they're going to evolve over the course of the season. Because, yes, they do lean into the run game. Can they continue to win in that form and fashion when you're going up against teams like Buffalo and Kansas City in the AFC and even the Cincinnati Bengals and the Chargers, who can put the ball in the air and light it up? The Indianapolis Colts, Doug, they now have a guy by the name of Matt Ryan, who we're going to talk about a little bit later. He can light it up. And they also have a run game. They have great balance on that Colts team. So, I do think there's pressure on Tannehill.
There you go. That's Solomon Wilcots this morning on the opening drive, SiriusXM NFL Radio, talking about Tannehill. Again, Drew Brees said he might come out of retirement on Twitter. The Saints believe that it's just in jest, but I bet you they probably sent some text messages like, yo, Drew.
Oh, for sure.
Like you coming out of
retirement.
retirement.
Oh, they're in on it.
Let me state for the record before everybody gets all worked up, but well, you said, Jared, you said this, and I don't think Drew Brees is coming out of retirement.
I don't think so.
And I think Peter King talked to two sources yesterday, and the sources close to Peter King or were close to Breeze and told Peter King that he's not coming out. But he said it, not me. It's not like I'm sitting here daydreaming, is Drew Brees coming out of retirement to go to the Titans? He said it, not me. Let's go to your phones, unless you have a thought.
To the phones.
Phone line driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com, 615-737-1025. Jeff, go ahead.
Hey there, Jared. Hi, Caroline. How are y'all doing today?
Good. What's your take?
So my take is to the question you asked just before the break. He's not today better than. But if we're going to go to Fantasy Island, can we take his brain out and put it in Tannehill's body? Because from a physical standpoint, Tannehill has the physical tools. He just makes bonehead plays from time to time. And Drew Brees, not counting the 3-interception performance his last game, generally doesn't put the ball in jeopardy. And so if we could take his brain and put it into Tannehill's body, I think we'd have a Super Bowl.
Jeff, thank you for the call. 3rd and 7, game on the line in your own territory, tie game, minute and a half to go. Who would you rather have with the football in their hands right now, Tannehill or a 43-year-old Drew Brees after a year off of football?
43-year-old Drew Brees a year after football.
I agree.
Easy.
I agree. And to me, this is the dichotomy between Brock Osweiler and Peyton Manning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm not saying that Tannehill's as stupid as Brock Osweiler because Brock Osweiler is stupid. But like Brock Osweiler has all the physical tools to be a good quarterback in the NFL. He is not mobile, but he's mobile enough. Like, he can move around enough in the pocket. Mm-hmm. He's got a good arm. He's big. He's strong. He stands in the pocket. Like, Brock Osweiler, that's why the Texans gave him all the money. Because they were like, man, he looks like a quarterback. He's got all this talent. And then that's why Bill O'Brien hated him so much, because Bill O'Brien, is an offensive guru who's used to Tom Brady and Brian Hoyer and these smart quarterbacks. And then he gets saddled with Osweiler, and Osweiler's a dum-dum, and he can't deal with it. And then there's Peyton Manning, who at the end, Peyton was like an old person that you see that no longer can move around like they used to be able to move around.
But they still got it upstairs.
But that mind is sharp. Like 88 years old and still driving a car. Like, they can't react like they used to, but that mind is sharp. And that was what Peyton was at the end. And that's how they got to the Super Bowl, was they played the Patriots, and Peyton took advantage of 2 blown coverages. Because Peyton can see those things before they happen because he's Peyton Manning. I mean, I bet you right now you could put Peyton Manning on the field in an NFL game, and he can tell you, like, okay, 57's the mic, he's dropping, he's coming up, he's going over here, you've got to make sure to block that guy over there. 53, Omaha, hike. And he wouldn't be able to get it there, but he would know what's going on. And so that is the dichotomy here, which is I think Breeze is a lot savvier at the quarterback position than Tannehill. But the question is, can Breeze's body hold up? And I believe Dan Graziano said today on TV that Breeze just has shoulder surgery. I don't know if that meant like he had shoulder surgery after he retired, or if he had shoulder surgery
just had it
like 5 minutes ago. And I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know.
What do we have in the text line?
One texter texts in and says, as a longtime Saints fan back when they were the Aints, it pains me to say that Breeze today would not be an upgrade over Tannehill. His last 3 seasons in NOLA were marked with the decreasing ability to get the ball more than 10 yards down the field. I think his leadership and ability to read the field are still only surpassed by Brady, but his physical limitations come to the forefront.
Would you take the last year of Peyton Manning right now over Ryan Tannehill?
Yes.
Do you think Breeze is physically still better than the last year of Manning?
Physically, I would say so, yes. It doesn't mean that it was any sort of show-stopping, incredible performance, but I would still say physically he was more mobile than Peyton was in his last year.
I mean,
it wasn't great. It wasn't outstanding. You could obviously tell that Drew Brees was nearing his retirement, that he was getting older.
Peyton
but
Manning,
the mind is there.
And this will show you
the football vision.
This will show you 2 things. 1, how important it is to be smart at quarterback and have a good leader, which Manning was. And 2,
Breeze was as well.
How good of a great defense can really carry you. Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl, and he literally could not throw the ball anymore. Like, he could not feel his fingertips when he held the football. Like, he couldn't throw the ball. And so, yet he still won a Super Bowl because he led that team. They had
a really great defense.
Excellent defense. Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware. And that was Von Miller in his prime. Unbelievable home field advantage. So the Patriots had to use the silent count. And that really hurt the Patriots because Brady was in trouble that whole game. And yet Peyton's leadership and smarts carried the Broncos across the finish line. And that's where I look at the Titans and I'm like, I don't think Tannehill's a very good leader. And I don't think Tannehill's the brightest quarterback in the league. I don't think he's dumb. Like, I don't think he's Jared Goff. I don't think he's Brock Osweiler. Who are some other dumb quarterbacks in the league that just do mind-numbingly dumb stuff on a week-in, week-out basis? Carson Wentz. I don't think he's that.
Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, Cousins is kind of dumb. Jimmy can be kind of dumb. I don't think Tannehill is as dumb as, like, Carson Wentz. And I don't think Tannehill's dumb by any means. I don't think he's the smartest quarterback in the league, though. And I do think that I think he plays a little bit more instinctive than he plays intelligent, and that does bother me.
But I think my thing here is we're debating, would we rather the Titans have a very smart and good leader at quarterback or at least more mobile and physically more in football shape? Why can't we have both?
Because you have to draft that.
I know. But I want both. It's frustrating to have this conversation.
Outside of Brady, how many quarterbacks out there right now would you say that guy is a smart quarterback, is a physically gifted quarterback, and is a leadership-savvy quarterback?
All the quarterbacks that got drafted for their current teams. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert.
I think only Burrow qualifies.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not convinced that Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen are, like scientists at the quarterback position.
I don't think that you can find that much success if you're not a bright quarterback.
I mean, but I think so I think there are guys who are good. Brett Favre.
Yeah.
He's a moron.
Off the field?
No. Brett Favre, admitted that he didn't know coverages.
It's pretty bad.
So Rodgers would be all those things, but he's not leadership savvy.
No.
He's a bad leader. So
Josh Allen. Why isn't Josh Allen those things?
Josh Allen is not a mad scientist to me, and this is going to be the year that proves it. Because Brian Daboll is in New York. But I don't see, I'm talking about Brady and Manning and those guys that come to the line and literally dissect you. The guys that can look at your play ahead of time and know exactly what to do. And maybe Allen's that guy. I don't know. Joe Burrow said that the one throw that he made on the final drive of the game against the Titans to Jamar Chase, that he and Jamar Chase had picked up on a Titans hand signal in the first half. They saw it on that play, and they knew where to go with the football. Joe Burrow's that kind of player. Ed Orgeron told a story that I guess when Joe Burrow was being recruited, that he went up to Ed Orgeron and was like, I don't want to do any of the recruiting stuff. I just want to eat crawfish and talk about football. And so they were inside the football facility, and Ed Orgeron said there was a meeting of 5 people. And that 10 minutes into this meeting, you knew that Joe Burrow, they put on the film, you knew that Joe Burrow was the smartest football guy in the room. I don't hear those stories about Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen has unbelievable talent, but I don't hear those stories about Josh Allen. I think Patrick Mahomes has unbelievable talent, but that's like backyard football, what they do in Kansas City. That's Kelsey, get open. Tyreek, run. That's what that is. Mm-hmm. And it works for them, and it's fine. Vince Young won a lot of games here playing backyard football, had no clue what he was looking at. And I'm not saying all the other quarterbacks are dumb, but I'm saying that the coach quarterback, Garoppolo ain't that guy.
But I'm not saying I would want, of course I do want that, but I'm not asking for some sort of mad scientist, super genius, incredibly talented quarterback. But at least a quarterback like Mahomes or like Josh Allen that are smart enough that they don't throw games away. And they are talented and gifted enough that they can execute plays. And you know that when the ball is in their hands, you trust it.
Yeah,
I'm not asking for a mad scientist.
But you got to draft that.
I know, but it's annoying that we have to have the conversation about intelligence or physical ability. I want both.
You have to draft it. And even then, you may not get it. Rodgers, bad leader.
Still wins games.
Like Rodgers, bad leader. Who are the best quarterbacks in the NFC right now?
Brady, Rodgers,
Dak Prescott. Would you put Dak in that category? Because I wouldn't.
Probably not. No.
I don't think Dak. I think Dak checks enough boxes in all those categories. Doesn't check all of those boxes.
If he wasn't the quarterback for the Cowboys, I don't even think that we would be talking about him in that conversation at all.
I think He's
fine.
A good quarterback.
He's fine.
Yeah, he's Dak.
He's not great. He's not bad. He's fine.
He's Dak.
Yeah.
He's Dak. That's what he is. And I'm just quickly in my head thinking about it, and even if you do draft it, sometimes you don't get that, which is crazy. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. So the Predators have not officially announced if the coach and the general manager are coming back, but I think we know the answer. And they have not announced a year-end press conference for the coach or the general manager. And have you seen some of the coaches that are getting fired around the league? Because it is starting to get a little interesting. We'll get to that coming up next. 615-737-1025, Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 1025 The Game.
Do you have that one person or thing that just makes you mad? Join us every Friday at noon on the DDC for You Just Made the List. Fueled by Parman Energy. Visit ParmanEnergy.com. Your one-stop petroleum solution and TriStar Movie on the DDC on ESPN 1025 The Game.
You just made the list.
This report is sponsored by BioNTech and Pfizer.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Sunny, a little bit less humid, and cooler this afternoon. Highs upper 70s and lower 80s, but we make another run at the 90s in the second half of the week.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Don't miss Nashville SC versus CF Montreal on May 18th at 7:30 p.m. Come on into Geodis Park and get closer, bolder, and golder at Nashville SC's. Single match tickets are on sale now at nashvillesc.com/singletix.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
Our fleet vehicle program is a great benefit to all the fleet companies in Nashville. We are able to get their vehicle back on the road a lot quicker than the downtime of most dealers and most general repair shops, simply because we have the transmissions available. We're able to put priority on their vehicles to get them back on the road quickly.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
People who suffer from long-term chronic joint pain spend so much of their time acting, putting up a carefree front. It's exhausting.
I was really tired of trying to act like I wasn't in pain because I was in pain all the time.
Rick Rawlings didn't want everyone else to know that he was coping with agonizing shoulder pain 24/7.
Yes, I had to put on a face to cover up my pain.
But then Rick found QC Kinetics, offering new lasting treatments for joint pain using natural biologics. Treatments designed to restore and repair joint tissue with no drugs, no surgery, no downtime. The results were amazing.
I am very glad. It changed my life doing the QC Kinetics. Today, my shoulders feel wonderful. The cranky Rick is gone. He's not grouchy anymore.
No more acting. Feel like yourself again with a call to QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024.
Hustle up, we've got 8 more floors to go before lunch.
Sarusha's window washing business is reaching new heights.
Wipe, and let's roll.
They need more certified cleaners to keep online reviews crystal clear.
Team, I know we're hustling, but watch for streaks. Candace, can you give me a hand over here?
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
You're listening to Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
Joe, can I ask you a question? What has John Hines ever won?
Dude, he's a young coach who coached a rebuilding, really bad team for a few years, and he came here to a team on a drastically downward trajectory and has done pretty well here. He hasn't won anything. He's a young coach in the NHL. Is he going to be great? I don't know. Is he a coach you can win a Stanley Cup with? I don't know. If you could get Barry Trotz over John Hines, sure, of course. I mean, if you can get a proven coach who's done things at the highest level, of course I would prefer that to John Hines. But again, you're totally misguided in trying to look at this situation and blame him for it.
So everybody over the last week and a half has been on my rear end about the Preds coach, right?
Yes.
I mean, Chris Mason sitting there talking about how you said that, he's making Nashville into New Jersey, and that's not true. And I'm like, so the playoff success that we've all been having around here, that's been happening in the last couple of years? Oh, that's right, it hasn't. And so one thing I'll say about that, I think the coach and the general manager are coming back. We talked last week about Elliot Friedman saying that he heard Hines was coming back, and it wouldn't surprise me because I would probably do this if I were in the Predators situation, that if I was bringing them back, the last thing that I would do is make an announcement that I was bringing them back, because then it was like it's special to say that they're coming back. But can I just say one thing? At what point does it get a little wild and crazy when you look at the other coaches that are available and you look at your coach and the resumes are not even comparable? Today, Vegas fired Peter DeBoer. Now, I think Peter DeBoer is a good coach because I remember when Peter DeBoer came in here with the San Jose Sharks and won a 7-game series and got to the Stanley Cup final. And then San Jose they had a bunch of old guys that got old quickly.
And all of a sudden, Peter DeBoer got fired in San Jose, similar to Peter here. He went to Vegas, and he got to the conference final and the equivalent of the conference final last year when they got to the Stanley Cup semifinal. They got to that Final Four last year after, I believe, they beat Colorado. And so they had a bunch of injuries this year. Things didn't go their way. And today, Vegas fired him. Now, Peter DeBoer has 56 playoff wins in his career in the NHL. Barry Trotz has a Stanley Cup. And yet, are we just all supposed to look at what John Hines has done here and excuse away the fact that you got 3 playoff wins in 3 seasons? You lost that horrendous Arizona bubble series? Because I'm looking at all these coaches, and you know me. I always believe there's an assistant coach out there. I always believe that there's a Mike Vrabel out there that nobody's thinking about who can come in and be a great coach. But now I'm looking, I've got Rick Tocchet, who's on TV. I think he's a really good coach. I've got Peter DeBoer, who's had a lot of success. He's a really good coach. I got Barry Trotz out there, who's a really good coach. I mean, it's one thing to sit there and yell at me and say that the problems with the Predators are not John Hines' fault, which I agree with. But I don't think John Hines is doing anything to help it. But let's just say that John Hines is doing the best he can. That honestly, this roster is so horrendous that there's nothing John Hines can do, and that John Hines is seeing you through a rebuild, and that's why you are what you are, and it is independent of the guy's individual skill to coach, right?
Yes.
Is he still a better coach than Peter DeBoer, Barry Trotz?
If that's a decision that they make, then that's the Predators organization telling you that yes, that they think whatever they can get out of John Hines, whatever John Hines can do, would be better than what you would get with an already established coach, with a Barry Trotz, with a Peter DeBoer.
But see, I just don't think they believe that. Because I don't think anybody believes that.
But if they don't believe that, then why would they do it?
I don't know. And I'm wondering if it's because of money. You know, like, do they look at it like, hey, in order to bring in, Peter DeBoer, you got to pay him. And it's like with Hines, I don't know how much money Hines is making, but it can't be what Peter DeBoer was making in Vegas, and it can't be what Barry Trotz would want from you.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I don't know. I think a part of it is, remember the theory we talked about off air that we never actually got to on air about why I'm so convinced that Joe loves, why Joe Rexrode absolutely loves John Hines?
Yes.
And you remember what the theory was?
I don't know.
Because I don't like him.
Because you don't like him.
So Joe gets so stubbornly defensive of the coach because he hears me talking about the inefficiencies of the coach, and then he gets mad because he thinks that I don't know what I'm talking about. So if he thinks that I don't know what I'm talking about, then he assumes that Hines is a good coach because I said that Hines is a bad coach. It's just like why he still...
Or he just thinks that Hines is a good coach.
Well, but it's still... Why is he still dying on the Julio and Clowney Mountains?
I don't know. The
because
Clowney Mountains.
I criticized him so hard for that I think he's so dug in. And I wonder if that's just the case with me in general, which is like everyone's like, no, Hines is a good coach. And it's like, according to what? You don't understand the game. What? Like, at some point, in order to get into the Hall of Fame, you have to win, and he doesn't win anything. And you look at these other guys, and I've got a guy who was in the semifinals last year with a Vegas team that had no business beating Colorado, and they did. I mean, I'll give you an example. When Hines got hired, and I think a lot of my issues with Hines stem back from the fact that when he got hired, I was really against it. They didn't interview any other candidates. They didn't wait for other candidates. They fired Peter and they hired Hines. And the only logic that I can come up with why they hired Hines is because Poyle got talked into it by his USA hockey buddies and his New Jersey buddies, who then got fired right after Hines got fired. They had to fire Hines, and then right after Hines got hired here, they fired Ray Shero there. So his buddies talked him into Hines, and he hired Hines. And I kind of wonder if it was like, hey, this is your last one.
Mm-hmm.
And so now he doesn't want to go outside his comfort zone, although Barry would be inside the comfort zone, but does Barry want to work for Poyle? And then if things go awry, Barry's not going to be the one who's getting fired. So I could see a little bit of that. But I go back to when this happened, and they hired Hines right away, and the resume was not very good, and everybody was like, no, Jared, you will see. This guy is a good coach. And I remember talking to somebody in the Predators organization like a week after they hired Hines, and Gerard Gallant got fired. Or maybe it was right before. I can't exactly remember the timing, but I want to say it was like right after Laviolette got fired, Gerard Gallant in Vegas got fired. And I was like, and, you know, like I'm a fan, so this is like, not on the air talking about the team, but I said to the person in the organization, I go,
right,
we could have had Gerard Gallant, and we got this guy? No, Hines a good coach. I tell you, he's a... And I'm like, but Gerard Gallant? By the way, the Rangers had been bad. They didn't win in the bubble series, and that's why they got the first pick that led to Lafreniere. They didn't make the playoffs last year. They fired the college coach that they had coaching, and they went out and they got Gerard Gallant. And I don't know if you saw Gerard Gallant last night, but he's moving on to the second round. And that Ranger team is not good. They got a great goalie. They pay Artemi Panarin a lot of money, and they got some good young players, and he's getting the best out of that group. And they're in the second round of the playoffs. And nobody was predicting, I don't think, the Rangers to be great this year, but Gerard Gallant is a good coach. He's the guy that took the expansion Vegas Golden Knights to the Cup final. And I'm sitting there thinking right after I'm like, if they had just waited, they could have hired Gerard Gallant. And at some point when all these coaches with good resumes are passing you by, don't you look at it as a missed opportunity? It's like in the NFL draft when it's like, well, if we didn't take that guy with the 13th pick, we could have taken this guy or that guy or this guy or that guy. And that's how the coaching situation feels right now, is it's like, man, you guys are all in on this guy who has never won anything. And maybe you're right. Maybe he's a good coach. But all these really good coaches who have won things are out there or are going to be out there. I mean, if Bruce Cassidy gets fired in Boston, and I don't know what they're going to do, but if Bruce Cassidy gets fired in Boston, I mean, he would be the perfect fit for the Predators. He is a hard coach on young guys, but he's a good offensive coach, and he's had success, and he took over a team that rebuilt on the fly, kind of like what they're trying to do here. And so, I don't know, man. But there's a lot. Now, maybe they're banking on this of like, hey, not all these guys are going to get jobs. So like how Gerard Gallant sat out the COVID pandemic and last year and then came back this year to New York, that maybe next year there will be a guy out there that will take a year off from coaching and they can hire that guy if it doesn't work with Hines, or if it does work with Hines, they can point their finger in my face and say, see, Jared, see. But, man, there's a lot of good coaches that are starting to get out there right now. I mean, there's a lot of good coaches. Peter DeBoer has 56 career playoff wins. John Hines has 4. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025. We are live at the Music City Celebrity Golf Challenge benefiting Folds of Honor out here at the Hermitage Golf Course. Coming up next, Trayland Burks, the story of minicamp, at least the story locally of minicamp. Trayland Burks, and should we be concerned about the fact that he couldn't make it through his minicamp practice this weekend? We'll get to that coming up next, 615-737-1025. And it feels like Vrabel has a very clear message for Trayland Burks, and I have a theory behind that, which we'll get to. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Nothing makes one feel better than the ability to give to someone in need. You have the power to give the most important gift of all, the gift of life, with a donation of your blood. Supplies are desperately low in our area, and your help is needed. Blood Assurance is a nonprofit community blood center that supplies our Middle Tennessee area hospitals. Please find it in your heart to donate. Be someone's hero today. Go to bloodassurance.org to find a location or blood drive near you. That's bloodassurance.org. Give blood, give local, save lives with Blood Assurance.
Finding the right person for the job isn't easy. Just ask someone who hired a lounge singer to be their office receptionist.
Hello, this is Mickey Marquis, and you've reached the office of Doug & Associates. Thank you very much. Catch me Tuesday nights at the Hotel Johnson. Hello?
But if you've got an insurance question, you can always count on your local Geico agent. They can bundle your policies, which could save you hundreds.
Doug & Associates, this is Mickey Marquis. Hello?
For expert help with all your insurance needs, visit geico.com/local today.
And now it's Geico's Motorcycle Rules of the Road.
Avoid biking in the rain and never touch another person's bike.
Hey guys, look at these bikes. So shiny. Whoops. I'm gonna leave a note. Oh gosh, there's more.
And the rule to saving on motorcycle insurance is, in 15 minutes, Geico could save you 15% or more.
In a world where human interaction seems to be reduced to chats and clicks and emails, where transactions are measured only by speed, where corporate policies overrule common sense, sometimes you just want to go old school. Welcome to Genesis Diamonds, a refreshing experience where personal relationships and authentic interaction are the norm, not the exception. At Genesis, you're here celebrating something awesome in your life, and we want to know all about it. We want to hear your story, listen to your requests, and be a meaningful part of whatever occasion this is. A proposal, an anniversary, a birthday, graduation, push gift, sweet 16. If it's important to you, it's important to us. So we don't care how long it takes. We're not paid on commission, and we're not beholden to some corporate rule book. We just want to help you get what you want to make it into a special memory. So take a break from modern shopping and go old school with us at Genesis. Let's start a real relationship that you can count on for life. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills, and Cool Springs.
Signs First is the official sign company for 1025 The Game. Go to sfnash.com.
Hey, Nashville, it's Chase McKay, Program Director of ESPN 1025 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have two choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Listen to Stillman and Company with me, Caroline Fenton, all season long on ESPN 1025 The Game for your chance to win Nashville Sounds tickets courtesy of 312 Pizza Company in Germantown.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting 97.5 Murfreesboro, 106.3 Williamson County,
ESPN
1025 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
We're one play away from an injury.
He knows this. He's a study of the game.
And we have strong opinions.
He's been awful. I don't think they were trying, and that's why I feel the way I feel.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman and Caroline Fenton. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 1025. The Game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Out here at the Music City Golf Challenge, benefiting Folds of Honor at Hermitage Golf Course, which we are glad to be out here for. And I guess it made a lot of people kind of mad today, Caroline.
That's not really anything new.
Well, I don't try to make people mad. I just happen to just tell them the truth. And in 2022, the truth is controversial. And so while they say the truth will set you free, the truth is the truth is about the truth. The reality is the truth will piss people off. And then some people will be like, yeah, Jared. And I've just grown accustomed to it. But today people are mad at me because Trayland Burks did not make it through his first practice in the NFL. Rookie minicamp was Friday. He came out. He worked out for a couple of drills, couple of reps, went inside, came back, couple of reps, went back inside. That was the end of it. Now, he did come out for all of Saturday's practice, which is good. But there are some concerns about the shape that Burks is in. Because as one wide receiver coach in the NFL told Bruce Feldman of The Athletic before the draft, he's 2 biscuits short of being a flexed out tight end. And so today, I have heard a lot of excuse-making from Trayland Burks. I have heard it was hot out there. I have heard it's only May. I have heard it could have been allergies. I have heard he could have asthma. All these things I've heard. They could all be right. They could all be wrong. I don't know. But Mike Vrabel, and I don't know what Mike Vrabel was asked in this question, but it said on our cut sheet that Mike Vrabel was asked about Trayland Burks walking away or being pulled out of practice on Friday. And I think Mike Vrabel has a very clear message for Trayland Burks. But this is what Mike Vrabel said on Friday.
I listen to Todd. We defer, to Todd. So,
you know, we all have to. We got to get these guys in here. We got to study. We got to learn what to do. Teach them our program, and you know, so if he's back out there tomorrow, then we'll coach him up.
Obviously, you expect these guys to come in shape, but how much is something like that to be expected?
I think it's hard to think that they can recreate, you know, with a trainer, how we do things, and we see that with guys that have come back and started with our off-season program and guys that have joined a few weeks in. It's just different, and I know that they're working and they think that they are trying to get in shape, but that's just not the case, and so that's something that we have to focus on and try to make sure that we're getting some work in, but you know, with all of them, you know, trying to be as smart as we possibly can, Jim.
Okay, I think that Vrabel is making a very clear statement to Burks. And I don't know if the statement is you're not in shape right now, though I do kind of feel like it was trending that way. I think the statement is you need to stay here. So I know you've trained your whole life. You trained in high school, and that was good enough for you to get a scholarship to Arkansas. And you trained at Arkansas, and that was good enough for you to be drafted in the first round of the draft. And I know you did this. I know you did that. I know. You need to stay here with our strength coaches. And I think there's two reasons for that. Number one, I think NFL people always prefer their own coaches that are hired to be strength coaches and to train these players over some guy that you pick yourself. I think that's natural. And I really think every sport's kind of like that. I think the baseball strength coaches want their guys talking to the baseball strength coach. I think that they want in basketball those players to be working with the basketball strength coach. When I was in college, nobody had their own trainers or anything else like that, but they wanted them on campus as much as possible because they wanted their strength coaches working with them. And I think that's the first thing. I think the second thing is this. I think Vrabel knows that if Trayland Burks is out of shape come training camp, they're up a creek. You know, there is a really interesting story Stephen A. Smith tells when he talks about his career, and I'm not exactly sure how it works, like how he wove this in to make it about his career, but he said that Trump, of all people, told him one time that, I guess this was before he was president, and they were talking about business or something, and Trump told Stephen A. Smith that if I take out a $3 million loan from the bank and I can't pay it back, I've got a problem. If I take out a $3 billion loan from the bank and I can't pay it back, me and the bank have a problem. Like, now the bank's got a problem.
Right.
And I always found that quote to be pretty interesting because what it really means from Stephen A. Smith is that the other person has to be committed too in order for you to really have a true partnership. The other person has to be equally committed as you are. And this in the Burks situation, we talked about the great elements of Malik Willis, which is if Malik Willis doesn't work, it's a third-round pick. They'll know pretty early that he's not picking up the system. They'll know pretty early that he's not learning how to play quarterback at the NFL. They'll learn pretty early that he's not big enough or strong enough or whatever. And I have no idea. But I'm just saying if it doesn't work, they'll know. They'll move on. Drafting Malik Willis in the third round this year does not keep them from drafting a quarterback in the first round next year. If Trayland Burks doesn't work out, they have a problem. It's not just Trayland. You know, it's not just his career and his ability to make money and what that means for him. They've got a problem because they traded A.J. Brown to get him. And the expectations around here, I told you, my expectations for the Titans are to be contending for the Super Bowl. That does not mean that the conference championship game is my expectation, that the wild card round, the divisional round, I don't know. It's a very subjective kind of way to look at it. But again, my expectation is to compete for the Super Bowl. They were competing for the Super Bowl last year. They probably could have made it to the Super Bowl last year if Tannehill doesn't throw the ball to the other teams. They beat the teams that played for the Super Bowl. I mean, they are right there as of the last game that was played. Well, you trade away A.J. Brown, one of the three best players on this football team, and you get Trayland Burks in return, and Trayland Burks has to be ready to play. He doesn't have to be A.J. Brown right away, and they're not expecting that. They look at Woods and Hooper and some of these other guys to kind of alleviate the stress on Trayland Burks, but they need Trayland Burks to play. This is the NFL. This is a league where guys get fired after they have a lot of success. And I've talked to the Titans, and I know that the Titans have no interest in replacing the coach or the general manager anytime soon. But things in this league change, and coaches and general managers know that. Doug Peterson, who's coaching the Jags, won the Super Bowl in 2018 with the Philadelphia Eagles, and he got fired, had to take a year off, and is now in Jacksonville. So they know how this stuff works. So this goes back to if you take out a $3 million loan and you can't pay it back, you have a problem. If you take out a $3 billion loan and you can't pay it back, they have a problem. And in this instance with Trayland Burks, if he's not ready to go for the Giants, then they have a problem. And I think Vrabel probably sees the size on Burks and thinks he needs to probably lose 10 or 15 pounds, which he easily can between May and training camp, but you got to be here. I know you think you can go to Arkansas. I know you think you got to be here. I think Mike Vrabel is looking at the big picture. And we read what the other scouts and the other coaches told Bruce Feldman about Burks, and that was about how little Burks knew in terms of route running, about how it was just pure talent with him. And he was just going up and getting the football, and then they ran a little go route here, but like the main routes, they didn't really run. And so you're going to have to teach him those routes. And this is the NFL, and we're talking about competing for the Super Bowl. So you need Robert Woods and Tannehill to be able to trust that he's going to run the right routes. Well, he's got to be on the practice field in training camp in order to do that. But if you're out of shape come training camp, you're likely to get hurt. You're likely to not make it through. So then you don't learn the routes that you need to know. Well, you need to know those routes in training camp because you're too valuable to play any meaningful snaps in a preseason game. And the team needs you week 1 against the Giants. So when I hear those Mike Vrabel comments about the trainer stuff, I do think it's big picture for all the young players to know that, hey, I know you guys think you know how to do this, but you do not know how to do this more than we know how to do this. But I also think it's for Burks because they need Burks. Because if Burks doesn't work out, it's their problem. So when I hear him say that about, the trainer and needing it, I think that there's a message to Burks. And I honestly think this is a good thing. Because while I am concerned about showing up for the first day of practice and not being able to complete the practice, which is what happened. For whatever reason it happened. While that's not good, I do think on the other side, something that is good for them is the fact that Burks was probably embarrassed that he didn't get through that practice.
Probably so.
And
because we talk about first-round hype, third-round pick from Malik Willis, it was first-round hype, first-round pick, Trayland Burks.
It was A.J. Brown hype for Trayland Burks.
That is also true.
And so he was probably embarrassed that he didn't get through the practice. And it wouldn't surprise me if they used this as Trayland, this is why you got to listen to Frank, the strength coach. Mm-hmm. This is why you got to listen to Frank. Because Frank knows what he's doing, and we're going to get you right, and we're going to get you on a program, and we're going to have you doing this, and we're going to have you eating here at the facility, and we're going to have you doing that. And it wouldn't surprise me if that was the message from Vrabel. And the message exists because they need him. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Your thoughts on Trayland Burks. Again, he did make it through the practice on Saturday, which is good. But 2 years removed from Isaiah Wilson, I think there's a little bit of a concern. Hey, Burks is not overweight, but he's close. And it's like those things can go either way. You definitely want it going the good way. You don't want it to be Mike Williams out of USC when he showed up here and did look like a tight end. You don't want it to be like Henry Ford. The Titans took Henry Ford in the first round of 1994, and he was a good rotational defensive tackle for the Titans, but he would be the equivalent of like Naquan Jones right now, which Naquan Jones was an undrafted free agent. So one time, it was during COVID, I asked Floyd, I said, what happened to Henry Ford? Why didn't he make it? Because the next guy was McNair. The next guy was George. The next guy was Kenny Holmes, who started on the Super Bowl team. Kevin Dyson, Javon Curse, Keith Bullock. I'm like, what happened with Henry Ford? Now, Henry Ford also went to Arkansas. But Henry Ford was drafted as a defensive end. And he looked at me, he goes, he got too fat. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, we couldn't keep him from eating. He just kept eating. He ate his way from defensive end to defensive tackle. And Henry Ford was a big guy. And I'm not saying that's Trayland Burks just because they went to Arkansas or anything like that, but it is something to always keep an eye on. There's some dudes out there in pro sports that have to watch their body every single day. There's other dudes that don't have to care about it at all, and will have 8 packs and be in perfect shape. And so with Burks, it's something they got to watch. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025. Everybody will look at Burks as the replacement for AJ, regardless of if they want to do it by committee or however they want to do it. Everybody will look at him as the replacement for AJ. But I'm convinced it's a lot more simple than that, and it almost doesn't have a ton to do with Burks, which we'll get to next. Stillman and Company, 615-737-1025, right here at ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Let's put the green flag in the air and turn them loose. Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
It's brought to you by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. We are your racing station.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
The versatile Kubota B-Series is a do-it-all tractor, part of our under 100 horsepower tractor lineup rated #1 for reliability. You can run powerful attachments that can be easily switched out. The Kubota B-Series. Talk to your local Kubota dealer today to schedule a demo. Go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
This segment of ESPN 102.5 The Game is brought to you by Trane Heating and Cooling Systems. Tested, retested, engineered, and re-engineered to keep up with you. We run together. Visit TraneInfo.com to find your local independent Trane dealer. TraneInfo.com. It's hard to stop a train.
What if you could be debt-free in 3 weeks? Hey, Willie Donick here. My friends at Loan Pronto are helping people do it every day. It's Loan Pronto's debt consolidation home refi, wiping out tens of thousands in credit card debt. Listen, your home's value is way up. You can refinance now, take money out to pay off all your credit cards, eliminate PMI charges, pay off personal loans, or other high-interest debt. One local couple had over $50,000 in credit card debt. Loan Pronto did a debt consolidation refi. And even though their mortgage rate went up a tad, they cut their monthly payments by $900. Why pay 20% interest when you can consolidate it to one low payment with a mortgage APR in the 3s? Homeowners who do it save an average of $800 a month. Do it now and even skip your next house payment altogether. That's what I call financial freedom. Call Loan Pronto now. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
At Mitchell's Mr. Transmission, we also offer free towing with any major repairs. If your vehicle has a breakdown and you should need any type towing is available through Dad's Towing Service. Dad's is a professional towing company in Nashville that provides all types towing and recovery, 24 hours a day.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
Folds of Honor provides educational scholarships to the families of military men and women who have fallen or been disabled while on active duty in the United States Armed Forces. Since 2007, Folds of Honor has awarded nearly 29,000 educational scholarships. Help families of soldiers who gave the ultimate sacrifice. Join the Game Nashville for a day of online and on-air giving today. Text keyword donate to 615-737-1025.
You've got bugs. What's your move? A rattly can? Or a simple spritz? Bugs near your kids and pet? Will it be ingredients you can't pronounce? Ew. Or essential oils? Bother the bugs, not your family. Zevo uses essential oils which attack bugs' biological systems, so Zevo kills bugs, plus is safe for use around people and pets when used as directed. Zevo, people friendly. Bug deadly. Now at a store near you.
Interact with Stillman and Company. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
A.J. Brown's not walking through that door anymore. Trayland Burks was drafted out of Arkansas to replace the production of A.J. Brown. And it's going to be interesting to see if the Titans, how they're going to evolve over the course of the season. Because, yes, they do lean into the run game. Can they continue to win in that form and fashion when you're going up against teams like Buffalo and Kansas City in the AFC and even the Cincinnati Bengals? and the Chargers, who can put the ball in the air and light it up. The Indianapolis Colts, Doug, they now have a guy by the name of Matt Ryan, who we're going to talk about a little bit later. He can light it up. And they also have a run game. They have great balance on that Colts team. So, I do think there's pressure on Tannehill.
That was Solomon Wilcots this morning on Sirius XM NFL Radio. And you heard right there talking about the Titans and saying, hey, A.J. Brown's not walking through that door. Yeah, they got Trayland Burks, and I'm convinced getting knocked out of the first day, or not knocked out, but not being able to make it through the first day of practice, that Mike Vrabel's going to use that kind of to motivate Burks to get him right on the same page. But I think the biggest issue about the Titans, because I consider the Titans a Super Bowl contender, and that is a team that contends for the Super Bowl. So in the NFC right now, I think there are 4 teams that are contending for the Super Bowl. San Francisco, the Rams, the Buccaneers, Packers. I don't think the Dallas Cowboys are competing for the Super Bowl.
I think they are.
Well, yeah, I mean, they think they are. But I don't think they're competing. Would you say the Cowboys are competing for the Super Bowl?
No, I wouldn't. I would even question San Francisco a little bit.
San Francisco, because the quarterback sucks so bad, it's so hard to get around. But at the same time, like, they've got a great coach, and they've always apparently won under this coach. So I'm with you. But I would say
I would put them under that category today on May 16th, yes. But I'm questionable about San Francisco.
But what's crazy is the AFC, we all know Kansas City, Buffalo, everybody considers competing for the Super Bowl.
Probably the Bengals.
Cincinnati, yeah. So Cincinnati's in there. And then, like, is Baltimore competing for the Super Bowl? I don't really think so. But my expectations are that the Titans are competing for the Super Bowl. And when Solomon Wilcots says right there, all those teams that he's talking about in reference to the Titans, it sounds like he thinks that they're competing for the Super Bowl, and that's why he says there's pressure on Tannehill. The one guy nobody's talking about when it comes to all of this is Derrick Henry. We were talking about this off air. Nobody is talking about Derrick Henry.
I think it might be the most underutilized offseason storyline right now with the Titans. Because we can look back to last season, and so many people says, well, look what the Titans were able to do without Derrick Henry. They won plenty of games. They beat the Super Bowl champions without Derrick Henry. They can do it. They can be fine. I think we felt his presence really missed in that playoff game. Thank goodness for Deontay Foreman for picking up the rest of the slack. But
Tannehill threw an interception on the next play.
Of course he did. But, I mean, if we have so many questions about the quarterback, and we know this is going to be a run-first offense, the wide receiver that they just drafted in the first round, albeit we have so much time from now until the Giants game, but that's going to be, a cause for concern throughout the offseason. Robert Woods is his first season in this offense. I think now so, more than last year, they're going to have to rely on the running game. And with Derrick Henry being such a question mark, we've seen one game from him coming back from surgery. And, of course, it was a bone thing, and you can expect that he'll come back to be 100%.
But it was a bad game.
We don't know that. It was a bad game. He's only getting older. The shelf life of running backs is very short. So I'm not saying that Derrick Henry is going to come out and, get 20 yards a game. But I wouldn't be surprised if Derrick Henry comes back this year and he's not the Derrick Henry that the Titans might need him to be.
Then you lose.
And then you don't compete for the Super Bowl. Because if your running back can't do what he needs to do and you have Tannehill as your quarterback, you lose.
You know why I think that's the most under-talked about thing, though, with the Titans, especially locally?
Because it's a really scary thing to talk about.
I don't think that's it.
Why?
Because there's no new information that you're going to see until week 1.
That is true. You don't know.
Like, is Derrick we've seen the workout videos. He's working out with Melvin Sanders in Dallas, and he's picking up, F-150s, and he's benching them, and he's, running in quicksand with giant cinder blocks in his hand, and he's getting out of it, he's doing all that, and he'll go to training camp, and he'll do his standard individual work, go to the sand pit. He will not take a carry in the preseason this upcoming year. He will barely practice against the Buccaneers and the Cardinals, if he does at all. And then week 1 against the Giants on 1st and 10, they will hand the ball to Derrick Henry. And then we will all see if Derrick Henry looks like the Derrick Henry against the Bengals or the Derrick Henry before the injury. And if he looks like the Derrick Henry before the injury, then all the people that are lumping the Titans with the Ravens and the Raiders and the Browns and all these teams that could be good this year but aren't are then going to put the Titans right back with the Chiefs and the Bills. And if Derek looks like the Derek from the Cincinnati game, then they're going to put that team well behind the Colts. And I think the people listening right now are probably just as worried about that. If you tell me Derrick Henry is going to be Derrick Henry, then the Titans' offense is going to be better this year than it was last year.
Yes.
Even though they don't have A.J. Brown. Because while A.J. Brown is better than any pass catcher that they have right now on this team, the difference between Brown and Burks is not as big, in my opinion, if he's in shape, as the difference between Julio not being there and what I expect them to do with Robert Woods. I expect Robert Woods to be the number one receiver of the Titans. And I think a lot of people are anxious about the pass catchers because there's so much unknown, right?
And then I think you also have to have the tight end to the mix as well.
And I think the tight end, I don't know about the tight end. I mean, I'm kind of...
Like about Austin Hooper
Yeah,
or just using the position in this offense?
I'm 50-50 about Austin Hooper.
But I feel better about Austin Hooper than I did with Ferkser.
Although the people loved Ferkser this time last year. But I feel better about Austin Hooper right now than Ferkser, period.
Yes.
I was never a huge Ferkser fan. I want everybody to know that. I mean, I liked Ferkser in the role he was in. 3rd and 11, get on the field. The idea of him on first down, I was never a huge fan of. Because I didn't think he was a starting tight end. Hooper's a starting tight end. But I expect more out of the tight end. I expect more out of Woods than Julio. And so I expect the pass catcher to be fine. The thing I'm worried about is if Derrick Henry is not Derrick Henry, then it feels like the window's shut. And that is one thing that I don't know if people don't talk about it because they don't want to talk about it, or I don't know if people don't talk about it because you will not know until the Giants. Like with Burks, we'll see in practice. We'll see in the practices against Arizona and Tampa Bay. He might play a little bit in the preseason. With Woods, when he gets out there, we'll see. But with Derrick, you will not know until week 1, and by that time, it'll probably be too late to fix the problem. What's crazy about the Titans, though, is that they didn't bring back Foreman. And I know they drafted the kid out of Michigan in the 4th round.
Hassan Haskins.
He'll be the backup. But
with what Deontay Foreman was able to do, not just in Derrick Henry's absence, but also in that playoff game.
Hey, it's like what Michael Irvin and Stephen A. said about Foreman. They're like, you got Foreman running that ball, and then Michael Irvin goes, running that ball. And I'll say this, he was running that ball. He was running that ball. All right, let's go to your phone. 615-737-1025. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Phil texts in and says, I am so pissed we don't have Deontay Foreman anymore. That is a massive mistake, not paying the extra $1 million.
I will say this. That is one that is a real rear-end spanker. That if they get wrong, is going to be like, what more did you need to see to bring him back for $2 million?
For nothing.
Like, what did you need to see? I mean, I didn't think they should have cut him in 2020. I was like, why are they cutting baby Derek? Just because they have Derek. And then everyone's like, oh, yeah, well, special teams, he doesn't play them. And they need a guy in the kicking game who, I'm like, the special teams on this team suck anyways. What do I care if they got a guy covering a kick or not? I mean, oh, my God. So that is a real, to me, that's a real, spanking JR on the bottom if that doesn't work out. What's next?
Craig texts in and says, I think Kyle Phillips could be a sneaky good rookie this year, especially in the red zone.
I have no idea. I mean,
I've heard good things about rookie minicamp and Kyle Phillips. Good things about Theo Jackson.
I mean, a slot receiver. A slot receiver, which is important, and punt returner. But
which is also important.
It's rookie minicamp.
Which is what the Titans haven't had in a minute.
It's rookie minicamp. Like, I mean, okay.
But we can't say that and say it's rookie minicamp, whatever, and then look at Trayland Burks and be really concerned about what he didn't do in rookie minicamp.
See, that's the difference between not being prepared for practice and whether or not you were good in practice. Like if Trayland Burks were to have made it through rookie minicamp and were to have torched everybody there, would we be surprised?
No.
I mean, he's supposed to be the best rookie, right?
He's supposed to be.
Okay, so would we look at him going out to rookie minicamp and torching that undrafted guy out of Lafayette Tech and said, boy, I'd bet week 1 against the Giants, and that's a Dory Jackson out there, Trayland Burks is going to... No.
We would not be thinking.
We would not be.
That is what was expected.
We would not be looking forward to week 2 against Tre'Davious White and saying, all right, Trayland Burks, let's go get him. We would not be talking about it like that. Now, when you're not prepared for it, your first ever practice in the NFL, that is a little bit of a concern. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025. The NFL schedule makers, I believe, did 2 teams absolutely dirty. And I want to get to those.
including one that I think has a legitimate effect on the Titans, and I am not buying. We'll get to that coming up next. Caroline wants to tell you, though, about the Caesars Sportsbook app.
Yes, I do. It is time for the Caesars Sportsbook report. Now, when you place your first bet with the Caesars Sportsbook app, it's risk-free, so no worries, up to $1,100. Download the app and use the promo code RadioCZR. One word, RadioCZR, and then place your first bet. And if you win, then congratulations, you just got some extra money. But if not, no worries, you'll get your wager back as a free bet. Now, if you need something to place that first bet on, Caesars Sportsbook has a fun little baseball odds boost tonight. Rays, Yankees, Red Sox, and Blue Jays all winning tonight. Got the Rays playing the Tigers, who are not great. Got the Yankees playing the Orioles, who are also not great. Blue Jays playing Seattle, who also are not great. And the Astros-Red Sox game is going to be the kicker here, so I'll be looking at that one. But I think that's a fun little odds boost tonight at plus 600 odds on the Caesars Sportsbook app. Must be 21 and physically present in Tennessee. New users only, but amount of qualifying wager return only if wager is settled as a loss. Paid as a single bet credit. Must be used within 14 days. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. Gambling problem? Call or text the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Caesars Sportsbook. Download it, people.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
they're still in good shape to make the playoffs,
and I-840.
Players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
There's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams. This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have two choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
Attention, buckaroos. It's time for the Franklin Rodeo. So saddle up and hold on to your lasso. It's 3 days of bull riding, calf roping, western wear, funny clowns, and some of the most talented horses you've ever seen. Join the Stampede this weekend. The Franklin Rodeo is held at the Williamson County Ag Expo Park and is brought to you by Franklin Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram, Williamson Medical Center, Wesley Mortgage, and Event 1FX. Tickets on sale now at franklinrodeo.com. It's a buckin' good time.
I come from a military family.
That's Stasha at Genesis Diamonds talking about the Hero Rewards program at Genesis, providing special discounts every day for heroes in uniform.
Whatever their budget is, we're going to make sure it stretches the best for them and that they will get the most beautiful ring at the best value.
Special hero pricing on any item extends to all military plus police, fire, and first responders.
They make us have the great life we have, and we are eternally grateful for that.
Genesis Hero Rewards program and free services is yours for life, no matter where you move.
Travel anywhere in the world, we're one phone call away. So no matter where you're stationed, if you're military or if you're a police officer and you go to another state, we're going to take good care of you.
Of course, it doesn't hurt that Genesis owner Boaz Ramon is himself a veteran of the Israeli Army.
Boaz, having served in the military, appreciates the military and what they do for us.
Genesis Diamonds, where our heroes in uniform get red carpet pricing and white glove treatment every day of the year.
Because they're there for us.
Genesis Diamonds and pre-owned Rolexes, continuously voted best jewelry store and best place to buy an engagement ring. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey, Nashville, what's the best part of hockey? That's rhetorical. We all know the answer. It's the 3-on-3 overtime, the speed, the skill, the tic-tac-toe passing. It is electric. Well, now there is a new, totally 3-on-3 ice hockey league called 3 Ice, coming to the Music City on August 6th. They're playing at Bridgestone Arena, and tickets are available now at 3ice.com. 6 teams touring across 9 cities, playing a bracket-style tournament at each stop. It's overtime all the time. Hair on fire hockey. Log on to 3ice.com for tickets now.
Tuesday night.
Pritchard finds room for 3. That's good.
The Eastern Conference Finals gets underway.
Max Strus is starting to ignite
as the Celtics take on the Heat. Coverage begins at 7
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is Greg McElroy, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Bruce, what do you make of Kansas City's early schedule? Because it does look rough on paper.
I mean, I have great faith in that team, but what is it? Their first 8 teams over 500, and then after a bye, again, they have Jacksonville, which makes their schedule a little softer, but Jacksonville could be far more competitive this year. I don't think it stops after the first 8. So, look, what you have to take into account with Kansas City and the brutality of that schedule is that most of the teams in the division will play a very similar schedule with the exception of the first place component. So it's not like, the Raiders or the Broncos are going to play a much softer schedule. But if ever we're going to get a test of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and how successful they can be absent of everything else, because Hill's gone, they've got to find a way to fill that void. It's not a team that dominates on the ground. Defensively, I think they've gotten better, but they're also going to miss Matthew. So I think this is going to be a great test for them. I still believe they're the best team in that division.
There you go. That was Bruce Murray, SiriusXM NFL Radio on my Sirius show on Mad Dog on Saturday night, talking about the Chiefs' schedule. The Chiefs' schedule is brutal. I mean, and it's like Arizona, then the Chargers, then the Raiders, then the Bills, then the Titans, then the first 8 games. They have a bye, I think, week 7. Then they play the Titans. Then they play Jacksonville, so they get a little bit of a break. Then they go right back to all those good teams. They play 3 bad teams, and they're all kind of in the middle somewhere around there. They play the Jags, the Texans, and the Seahawks. And other than that, it's all San Francisco, and their cross NFC 17th game is Brady and the Bucks. I mean, it is a relentless and ruthless and national TV tooth and nail schedule. And that absolutely has to affect how you look at them as a contender. And I was talking about this with the Cowboys because I think the Cowboys did wrong too with their schedule. Now, the Cowboys, by strength of schedule, play the easiest schedule supposedly in the NFL, which doesn't make any sense because they're a first-place team. So why would the fourth-place team in that division not play an easier schedule? But I guess it's because the fourth-place team doesn't get to play the fourth-place team. So Dallas technically has the easiest schedule. I thought they got so screwed. If they've got the easiest schedule, I thought they got so screwed by the schedule makers. Dallas's first 5 games, Tampa Bay, Cincinnati, at the Giants, Washington at home, at the Rams. Then they go to the Eagles for what is probably a divisional showdown because I don't see Washington and the
That's
Giants.
tough.
Whatever. The Eagles, meanwhile, get Detroit week 1, Minnesota, Washington, Jacksonville, at Arizona. Only at Arizona would the Eagles have any business of losing. And the Eagles went and got A.J. Brown, and the Cowboys went and did nothing. And so when you look at a schedule like that and you see, oh, wow, Dallas might start off 2-5. And if they start off 2-5 and the Eagles are 5-1, that division is over. Like the Cowboys got a break. They play Green Bay on the road after a bye, but they also got screwed their Thursday night game. They play one Thursday game, on Thanksgiving against the Giants. Nobody cares about. But their other Thursday game is on the road at the Titans. The Texans or the Eagles Thursday night game is at the Texans. And if a road team's going to win on Thursday night, it's usually going to be against a horrible team like the Texans. So the Cowboys did totally wrong by the schedule makers. Well, that matters. Like when you're looking at the potential of winning your division, that matters. And when it comes to the Chiefs, and we're talking about this reckless schedule where they ended November before they get a respite against Jacksonville or late October, I mean, you could literally sit there and be at that point in time. And remember, they struggled in the middle of their schedule last year.
Oh, yeah.
Kansas City could be 3-5, 3-6. And so I agree with Bruce Murray. I think it's the ultimate test of Reid and Mahomes. But now that Tyreek Hill's gone, so Tyreek Hill, Honey Badger gone, your schedule is brutal. Your division's amazing. Boy, I tell you. Like, if I'm thinking about, putting a bet down in the AFC, I have a hard time getting on the Chiefs bandwagon because of how just relentless their schedule is.
But we look at the first 5 games. What does the rest of the Chiefs schedule look like?
Oh, no, the whole Chiefs schedule's like that. Again, I told you 3 easy games. Jacksonville, Houston, and Seattle, and that's it. Everything else is Russell Wilson, Tom Brady.
But even Russell Wilson and the Broncos, I'm not completely sold on.
But
yes, of course. They can beat you because that's
you.
Russell Wilson.
And that's I believe week 2 is Justin Herbert. They start off with Kyler Murray. Then they get Herbert. I mean, when you play in that division, you've got 6 games against either Mahomes or Mahomes, Carr, and Wilson, or Carr, Wilson, and Herbert, or Herbert, Wilson, and Mahomes. You're going to play those 6 games against those good quarterbacks. But, the Titans have a really brutal schedule because this year the AFC first-place schedule means good quarterbacks. And the first-place NFC schedule, in the case of the Titans, means Aaron Rodgers. And in the case of Tampa Bay, or in the case of Kansas City, means Tampa Bay. And so you get Brady. And that is tough. Russell Wilson doesn't have to play Brady. So that's the difference. Justin Herbert doesn't have to play him. The Chargers, to me, if I thought their coach could coach a lick, and maybe he's learned. It took Vrabel a little bit of time. Then he learned, you can't always go for it. If you told me that the Chargers coach had learned, I think I would pick the Chargers to win that division. Because I like the quarterback, and the schedule is a third-place schedule. It's not a playoff schedule because they didn't make the playoffs. And they added but not core-altering guys. I mean, I think the Chargers have some potential. But then
some
again,
of the
they got
decisions that their coach made last year, I mean, he's the reason why they didn't make the playoffs.
Foolish.
Just silly, stupid decision-making.
What do we have in the text line? 615-737-1025.
One texter texts in and asks, will Todd Downing change anything up this year?
I mean, I'm sure he has to change something up. But what will he change? I couldn't tell you. And even if I knew, they wouldn't tell me. So, I mean, I think everybody in the offense except for Trayland Burks is under the microscope this year. Lawan, they can get out of after this year. Henry, they can get out of after this year. Tannehill, they can get out of after this year. Robert Woods, they can get out of after this year. Hooper doesn't have a contract after this year. Nate Davis doesn't have a contract after this year. Ben Jones, they can get out of after this year. The tackles and guards, I don't, who's playing left guard, I don't know. Who's playing right tackle, I don't know. So outside of Trayland Burks, they can literally get out from everybody after this year. And Downing is no different, where they can easily get out of him because they can just move in Tim Kelly, or they can go get another coordinator.
Another texter texts in and asks, how could Trayland Burks be okay in day 2, but struggle so much in day 1?
I don't know. I don't know if they sat down with him and said, hey, man, you got to tough it out in day 2. I don't know
if it was an easier workload.
Or if he was more prepared for it or whatever. But it is interesting that Burks got through the whole practice, and everybody wants you to know that, yes, Trayland Burks was unprepared for his first day of work, but he got through the second day.
Well, yeah, I think that is something that is necessary to know.
But I don't think it's something that everybody's making. Like, everybody's like, yeah, he missed the first day. That could have been allergies. But he made it through the second day, so nothing to see here. It's like, no, there's something
Well, I don't
to see
think
there.
you can tell the story of day 1 without telling the story of day 2. Yeah, day 1 was concerning, but
I don't think day 2 is more
optimism?
important than day 1.
It's not more important, but I think they're equally as important.
But everything I'm hearing around here is, day 2. Day 2 proved that day 1 didn't matter.
Is anyone saying that?
Oh, my God. On my drive over here, Chase, Joe, and Elijah were all like, is this a big deal? No. Okay.
I think it's important. I think it's something to monitor. But I think that day 2.
That is what they said, is it not? I mean, is it a problem? No. Okay.
Joe's shaking his head no.
And then as you just hear a tumbleweed jumping across the radio, like as you hear that, just as they said no. It's like, what are we going to do to fill the next 8 minutes of this segment? Joe's over here, over at our celebrity golf
Our own
tournament.
personal peanut gallery, Joe Rexrode.
Oh, goodness. What else we got?
Another texter texts in and says, Henry will not be the same. They should move on from him.
So they're going to let the season decide that.
And I'm not there yet. I'm not going to stand up here and say that Derrick Henry won't be Derrick Henry of the past. I'm not going to stand up here and say that the Titans should move on from Derrick Henry because I don't think they should. I think they would be stupid if they did. But I'm just saying, I'm not counting it out as a possibility.
I mean, it's just they're already there. Like, you know what they have for the season. And I'm telling you, I like moments of truth, right? Like, I like Mike McCarthy coaching for his job with the Cowboys. That schedule is super tough. He is going to be the fall guy. If they start off like I think they're going to start off 2-4, and they play the Eagles, and they lose and the Eagles are 5-1, then every show on every channel is going to be dedicated to whether or not the Cowboys are going to fire Mike McCarthy. It's going to be just like Jason Garrett all over again. Jerry is going to have to hold a press conference. They're going to have to talk about it, and they don't know, and this and that. And it's going to be a train wreck and a disaster. And that's why if you look at the Cowboys, they're always good one year, then they're bad, then they're good, then they're bad. And it's going to be like that. But I like it. I like, you gotta freaking coach for your job. I like that. I like standards. I like not bending the goalposts. I like it. With Henry, that's how he enters this year. You got to play for your spot. And if you don't, somebody else is in there next year. I'm fine with that. Tannehill, Lawan, I'm fine with it. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll get back to some of your phones. But, boy, was there a lot of reaction on Friday from our debate with Chris Mason, which I believe, if you read the YouTube comments as the gold standard for deciding a debate.
There was some tea in the comments.
The YouTube comments make it sound like I won. I'm not calling myself the winner because I don't call myself the winner in debates like Joe does, but I will say that I felt very strongly about my position. On the other side, there is one thing that I will never give into, and I'll explain what that is coming up next. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Nashville's own Big Machine Distillery wants to send you to the inaugural Tennessee Whiskey Trail Experience to celebrate International Tennessee Whiskey Day. This Saturday, May 21st at Nissan Stadium, text WHISKEY, WHISKEY, to 615-737-1025 to enter to win a pair of tickets.
Let's put the green flag in the air and turn them loose. Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
Is brought to you by the Nashville Super Speedway. We are your racing station.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Sunny, a little bit less humid, and cooler this afternoon. Highs upper 70s and lower 80s, but we make another run at the 90s in the second half of the week.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now, 615-576-5000.
Golfers, tee it up this year at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the hottest new arrivals from Callaway. Featuring the new Rogue ST drivers, Callaway's most stable driver ever, with tungsten speed cartridge, jailbreak speed frame, and AI flash face. Engineered for max speed and forgiveness. 4 different models to fit every golfer's needs. Think speed? Go Rogue. Swing by Edwin Watts Golf Shops and get custom fit for the new Rogue ST drivers today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, and shop us online at worldwidegolfshops.com.
Bring your hive together with Spirited Hive. It's Hive O'Clock. What is Hive O'Clock? It's connecting or celebrating with your hive, a time to be present and create shared memories. At Spirited Hive, we become aficionados discerning what goes best with bourbon, tequila, and vodka in a canned cocktail. Bourbon whiskey with rosemary infused with honey and lemon, tequila ginger infused with honey and lime, or vodka cranberry infused with honey and lime. Available to purchase on reservebar.com or tap room for delivery within the hour. Join us at Spirited Hive on Instagram to see what the buzz is all about.
Nashville's own Big Machine Distillery welcomes you to the inaugural Tennessee Whiskey Trail Experience to celebrate International Tennessee Whiskey Day on May 21st. Tickets are limited, so get them now at tnwhiskeytrailexperience.com. Tickets include tastings from 30 Tennessee Whiskey Trail distilleries, a Glencairn glass, food pairings, live music, cigar lounge, and you can buy bottles to go. Educational and mixology classes earlier too. May 21st, tnwhiskeytrailexperience.com.
This is Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
Is your argument that the team is not good enough for us to have expectations for them to compete?
They do compete. No,
I mean, they didn't compete against Colorado Avalanche.
They competed. They got beat by a superior team. It's not that difficult to understand.
Oh, they did compete. According to Chris Mason in the debate on Friday, they did compete.
Well, yeah, they were there. But they weren't competitive.
So the debate got just tons of reaction for 4 o'clock on a Friday, which I was a little surprised by. 4 o'clock Friday, summertime, weather's nice.
Well, you brought out the big guns at 4 o'clock on a Friday.
Yeah, but the reaction
If you build it, they will come.
So I'm going to give everybody there was one element that we discussed. Here's the thing about debates like this, and Joe and I were just arguing about this here at the golf tournament off the air, which is if you think John Hines is a good coach, then no matter whatever reason you give for defending that, I'm just not going to agree with. And no matter what I tell you about John Hines, you're just not going to agree with. Like, Joe just admits to the fact that, oh, yeah, they definitely should have won that series in the bubble against Arizona. And, oh, yeah, Robby Stanley says they should definitely play Roman Josi on the penalty kill. And, oh, yeah, whatever. But then it's like, no, he's a good coach. The guy's never won anything, but he's a good coach. And so whoever has a different opinion on Hines will never agree with me. But there's one thing that even internally I started to think about relenting. Because Chris does have a lot more experience playing hockey than I do. And hockey people, or even huge hockey fans, like to take a casual fan. And I mean, I don't know if I count as a casual fan. I probably watch 75 of the 82 games a year. I go to like 40 of them or 30 of them or something like that. And I watch every single second of every single game in the playoffs that the Predators play. And I watch a lot of games that the Predators don't play in the playoffs. And so I don't know if that counts as a casual fan or not, but it's certainly not Chris Mason's level of expertise. And it was the argument that we got into about Alexander Carrier. And Chris got really mad because I think Alexander Carrier sucks. Now, you've sat in my seats at the Preds game. Mm-hmm. I sit close enough to really be able to, like, see, especially in one end of the ice, right?
Yeah.
So I've seen Carrier. He's small. He cannot handle the puck. He does not skate fast enough to get to the puck, especially in defensive situations where if you're not a 100-point scorer like Roman Josi, I need you to play defense. And he's just not very good at it. And my eyes keep telling me that, you know what, this guy played really well last year, and they thought maybe there was something there, but he's kind of a pumpkin. And here comes everybody. You don't know what you're talking about saying Alexander Carrier sucks. You have no idea. And it took me back to previous times where my eyes told me one thing and the TV analyst told me another thing. For years, I was all over Kyle Turris. One time, there was an availability, a media availability at the airport before they flew out to go to Dallas, and Kyle Turris was actually having an okay series, and he was up there, and I was standing there, and I was talking to Laviolette, and Kyle Turris gets up to go, and I mean, he stared me up and down, man. He was like,
he was not happy with you.
Yeah. So I've been on Kyle Turris's rear end for a long time, and it took everybody a long time to get there. I remember Hal Gill used to get so mad every time I would say, pay what you owe. Every time. Every time I hinted that Kyle Turris sucked, Hal Gill would get so mad. But he did suck. And my eyes told me he sucked, and I watched it on the ice. And finally, after 3 years of it, everybody else finally caught on to it, and they bought out his contract. Then there's Craig Smith. Craig Smith scores 20 goals every year. Craig Smith's a very likable guy. Darren loves Craig Smith. Like, I would say that those two guys are legitimately friends. Mm-hmm. And the local media loved Craig Smith. And for years, I'm like, this guy disappears in every big game. You know, every moment there's something, he disappears. And I know he gets hot in February, and and everybody says, see, he scored 7 goals in his last 4 games, Jared. See. And I mean, the TV analysts, Hal and Chris and those guys, no, you don't understand. Smitty, he does this and he does that. And Crispy, who I have the utmost amount of respect for. Crispy was always a big Craig Smith guy. And I never understood it. So my eyes told me that Turris was no good. They told me Turris was good. Finally, everybody realized that Turris was no good. My eyes told me that Craig Smith was no good. For years, everybody told me Craig Smith was good. We argued about it. You know, he got mad at me he got so mad at me one time that, it was wild. It was wild. Like, in the middle of a show, getting mad at me. But for years, everyone would tell me he was good, and I'm like, I don't think he's good. This is Boston Radio, 98.5 The Sports Hub, where they got knocked out over the weekend. This is Boston Radio last week. This is what they think of Craig Smith, who now plays on the Bruins.
Bill in Rhode Island, go ahead, please.
Yeah, where's Craig Smith been? That guy hasn't even hit the net, I don't think, in this whole series.
Sucks and blows. Sucks and blows.
So that's what they think of him.
Doesn't just suck.
So this weekend, I'm sitting there thinking about the debate with Chris Mason, and I'm like, I know I smoked him, even though Joe disagrees. I know I took him down. I know whatever. You know, I think I won the debate. But more importantly, I was thinking to myself, was I wrong about Carrier? Was I wrong? Because he was really, strong opinioned about Carrier. And then I thought back to that. And I thought back to the fact that they told me Turris, they told me Craig Smith, they told me this one, they told me, these guys, they'll be okay, they'll be fine. They told me. And yet here we are. It's, what are the eyes telling you? What are the eyes telling? Ben Harper. Now, they didn't really tell us about Ben Harper.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone was really high on Ben Harper.
But how much right shot, left shot did we have to hear last year about Ben Harper?
A lot of it.
The dude freaking stinks.
But in that same breath, I think every single media member and person who works within the Predators organization can admit that Luke Kunin has fallen short of expectations. So it's not like they're just homery about every single player on that team. It's not like they can't just step back and admit the fact that one player is just not playing well enough.
So it's easy to do that when a guy has 13 points in an entire season.
When it's in an obvious drop-off from the year before.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's like the Granlund and Fiala trade, which, look, Fiala may be a total, just nightmare off the ice.
Uh-huh.
But there's no real way to argue that the Predators won that trade. Like, just by comparing the statistics of the two guys.
And Granlund's a good player. But just statistically, Fiala has done more.
Yeah, Granlund's an average player, and Fiala's an above-average player. And I don't think you win cups by trading players for worse players. But it's like Chris was arguing that fact the other day about how, no, Fiala's the kind of guy who gets a coach fired. He's the kind of guy who, I'm like, has a lot more goals than the guy that you traded for him. That's kind of the, I forget all the goals and the points and everything else. But I just go back to what my eyes are telling me. And I almost relented. I almost flip-flopped and said, maybe I was wrong about that one. And then I remembered what Boston Radio said about Craig Smith. And it reminded me that I was right about that the whole time. So that's going to do it for us. We are out of here today. Great show. I want to thank all of our friends here at the Hermitage Golf Course. I want to thank our friends at Mercedes-Benz and Music City who are sitting right here. All of our great sponsors who participated today in making this. Again, you've donated over $7,000 today. You can text DONATE to 615-737-1025 to donate to Folds of Honor, a great cause. We're out of here. On to the main event tonight. That's going to do it for us, Stillman and Company. Preds Insiders. They go inside next.
Take us wherever you may go.
There are two guys on my untouchable list.
Tune us